Get up and go, Giant fans. It's another edition of LockedOn Giants Live with Traina, Tainah, and the dog. It's coming your way next.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Welcome, Giant fans, to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast. It's Locked On Giants Live. You got Traina, Tainah, and the dog. Get up and go, Giant fans.
Got your next cards, Chris.
Oh God, I forgot again. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. That first one, that was a solid 8.5.
Oh, one of my listeners actually proposed that, so I'm trying out that get up and go. So,
I like it. That was a solid. The dog was I wouldn't say perfect because I gave you an 8.5, but a very good length. And I like to get up and go. That was a good intro. Good job.
There you go.
I'm trying to come up with something. I got to start to feel comfortable. That was the first time I actually tried that catchphrase out. So, folks, if you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know, or come up with another one. I just can't come up with a good one, and I'm not doing stand. My husband told me to retire stand up, because I just can't do it like Chris can.
Nobody can do it like Chris can. That's
no, nobody can. Anyway, folks, welcome to the Locked On Giants podcast, Locked On Giants Live. We are here to talk Giants football. We're going to talk about the upcoming game. We're finally back. We are back. And I know Dog's excited about that.
I'll be honest, I actually kind of liked having the week off. I kind of liked having it quiet. I like doing Giants videos. There just wasn't much to talk about, so it's kind of like, give myself a little bit of a break. We'll get ready. I enjoyed the bye week myself, but it did take a long time to get here. It did take a long time.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, because it was nice to just kick back and not have those crunching deadlines and going crazy and everything like that. But football's back. I'm excited. Yes. Giants have a chance to go 7-2 this weekend against a Houston Texans team that has the league's worst record, but kind of a tricky team, I think, because sometimes this team can play decent football. I mean, they held their own against the Eagles for 3 quarters, and then they just kind of fell apart, and it's just kind of hard to get a read on this team. What do you guys see when you look at the Texans?
Pierce.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I see. Yeah.
Pierce. Against that run defense, that Giants run defense, which is struggling.
This I feel like is another one of those games where you stop Pierce and you say, listen, if Davis Mills beats him, he beats him. Brandon Cooks looks like he's going to play in this game, so obviously that's a big addition for Houston, but you got to make Davis Mills beat. You can't let Pierce run all over your defense.
Yeah, for sure. Pierce on offense, that's who you got to worry about. And we've struggled against the run this year, so I think it's a fair concern from a defensive standpoint going into this game. I've seen a lot of Giants fans kind of start to hint at this game that this could be the game we blow somebody out or have a comfortable win. And obviously we're favored by 6.5. I'm not going into the game like that. I don't take anybody for granted if I'm a Giants fan. And I just think our style of play doesn't allow us to blow anybody out. I just don't. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I think we'll win, but I don't think it'll be a runaway. I respect this Houston team regardless of what their record is. They've played competitive football for the most part this year. And the Giants just aren't the type of team that's going to, unless you cough it up 3 or 4 times, I don't see the Giants blowing them out. I think it'll be a close game.
Yeah.
Before I add to that, first, Chris, happy birthday. I understand
tomorrow, but thank you.
All right. Happy birthday in advance. Yeah, with this Giant team, I mean, to expect a blowout, I don't think this team right now as constructed is going to blow anybody out. The way the Giants have been getting it done, and we saw against the Seattle Seahawks what didn't happen that needed to happen. They've been capitalizing on other teams' mistakes, and the Hawks didn't really make many mistakes in that game. The Giants made mistakes, and as we saw, they were not good enough to overcome those mistakes. So I'm not going in expecting a blowout. Do I think the Giants will win by at least a score? And then, spoiler alert, I know we're going to do predictions later on in the show. Yeah, I think that's certainly doable. But Pierce does, Damian Pierce, he's what, the 6th highest rushing yardage total in the league against the Giants run defense, which has struggled. And, Wink Martindale, I asked him this past week about what they learned about the defense over the bye. And he was, not as specific, but you can kind of go back and look at the stats and read between the lines. And, he made a comment. He said, sometimes we have to give up something to compensate for something else. So sometimes, they might give up the run. And this goes back, if you go back to Super Bowl, what was it? Super Bowl 25, when the Giants let Thurman Thomas run crazy just to shut down the pass game. So
yeah, they played a 3-man line, and that was they said that was to punish the receivers, but it worked because it slowed the K gun down is what happened.
Right. So
I like game plans in the Hall of Fame. So that's so good.
Yes, it is. Yeah. But the point being is sometimes, we look at the numbers and we say, oh my God, the Giants run defense has just been awful. But sometimes we don't know if they're giving up the run in order to shut down something else. Yeah. So,
I definitely think that's a part of it. I definitely think that's a part of it.
I mean, what you can look at obviously are, missed tackles or guys taking good angles. You can look at that stuff, which requires people to actually sit down and look at the film. And, there's been some sloppiness, but they've gotten better at that. And I know that was one of the things they looked to clean up. But yeah, that Pierce versus Giants run defense, that's going to be an interesting matchup. And I'm curious to see who the Giants elevate from the practice squad. Are they going to bring up Landon Collins for a third time because he's a really good box safety? Are they going to bring up another defensive lineman because they're kind of thin at that spot? How are they going to approach this? Because they're going to need all hands on deck to stop Pierce.
Yeah, and losing McKinney obviously was a major loss for us. So I figure Landon Collins is probably, somebody you're going to have to bring up. Yeah. We're already thin in the secondary, and now we're even thinner. But yeah, I mean, Landon Collins, a strong suit, was always playing up near the line of scrimmage, and I don't think it takes much if you just say, hey, go out there and try to stop the run on particular running downs. But defensive lineman would certainly help too. It'll be interesting to see the way Wink does this. If he wants to use some run blitzes or just put 7 up in the box, and like I said, make Davis Mills beat you. But then again, you got to worry about that safety help without Xavier McKinney back there, the captain of the secondary, one of the defensive leaders of setting the defense. So that's a big loss, and not just because of his physicality and his ability, but his leadership could also be messed out there. So we'll see what Wink does. I do think Landon Collins will be elevated. I think they have to elevate him. And again, I think they just have to go in and saying, hey, man, Davis Mills, you beat us. You beat us. To your point, saying he's got to give up something like Chris said. I think part of it is saying beat us with the run. I think the Giants want to get in those, those tough battles, that line of scrimmage battle, make them use 6 minutes to score a touchdown. You don't want them to give up a big play. It's kind of like when 1990 Giants, Bill Parcells, right from the opening snap, was trying to speed up the game, meaning he wanted the game to go quickly. He wanted the time to run. They were running out the clock from the first snap. Yep. So because we're not a high-powered offense, it does seem to reason that Wink Martindale would say, okay, if they're going to score, let's not give up an 80-yard touchdown drive in 3 plays. If they have to go 11 plays and take up 7 minutes, we'll get in that kind of battle as opposed to throwing the ball all over the field because the Giants aren't equipped to do that.
Yeah. Plus, we have a limited secondary, right? We've had a lot of injuries in the secondary, so I think that has something to do with it too. They say we're going to make you go down the field, and by doing that, I mean, it opens yourself up to maybe they commit a holding penalty. You get off the field that way, right? If you make them work to go down the field, and we've been very good in terms of inside the red zone, so that's something we've done great with this year. But I'm really interested, like Bad Dog said, I'm really interested to see not so much this game, because I don't think it's going to really alter too much in terms of the defensive game plan in this game. I think they'll be able to get by against this Houston team. It's not like Davis Mills is going to throw all over the field, even with McKinney being out, in my opinion, especially if Brandon Cooks doesn't play. I haven't heard an update on him. I know he didn't play.
I think he's questionable.
He's questionable.
I think so. I'll check. While you continue to make your point.
I think they'll be able to get by this week without McKinney. But in future weeks, I am really interested to see how they adapt this defense because McKinney's a loss. There's no, I know we've overcome injuries this year. And we're going to have to find a way to overcome this one, but you're not going to overcome it with one player. And I have tremendous respect for Julian Love. I think he's a really good player. I can't wait till he's back with the Giants, but you're not replacing McKinney. Like, you went from Love and McKinney now to Love having McKinney's role and Dane Belton having Love's role. So I'm really interested to see what Wink does in future weeks. Does he alter the defense? Does he have a different type of defensive philosophy? So that, to me, is the thing I'm most concerned with from a defensive standpoint. But offensively, again, not so much this week, because this week I think we're going to be able to have our way with the ground attack. But going forward, Kenny Golladay, to me, is the story of the offense in the second half, or just the wide receiving core in general. Those guys need to step up. But Golladay specifically, I think all eyes are going to be on him, because I think a lot of Giants fans at least have some hope that he could give us something in the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he is motivated. And just real quick, Brandon Cooks is listed as questionable. He was limited Friday and Thursday. He did not practice on Wednesday. So I think he's going to play. I think Brandon Cooks is definitely going to play.
I don't like hearing that.
To your point about how they're going to replace McKinney. Basically, Wink was asked that, and I put an article on Giants Country about that. He's basically said it's going to depend on what they're trying to do and what the game plan dictates. It's not going to be a 1-for-1 swap, so to speak. So Julian Love will handle the play calling. He'll wear the radio in his helmet, but beyond that, they're going to maybe they ask Belton to play up in the box and Love to play deep, or maybe they mix it up. So
it'll be matchup dependent, like you said.
Exactly, it's going to be matchup dependent. Now, to your point about Kenny Golladay, going back to when Tony was traded, just seemed like a light went on for him, because there have been times in the summer. If you go back to the summer and even during the start of the season, you could sit there and say, "What the heck is he doing?" It just didn't look like Golladay was going at it full blast. It was like he was mailing it in. He's motivated now. I mean, that's the sense I get from listening to him. Now, does that translate to the field? This is a good opportunity, I think, for him to really have a quote unquote breakout game as a Giant, because if I'm not mistaken, I think the Texans, they run that Tampa 2
they do.
defense, right?
Almost exclusively.
Which is kind of outdated. So, they rely, I think, more heavily on their linebackers for coverage, especially on those intermediate things. So I would like to see Kenny Golladay, and the Giants in general, just take a few more deep shots down the field. I think if they're going to do it any week, this is the week to really try that deep ball.
Yeah, Kenny Golladay is going to be, again, a big addition. I know a lot of Giants fans were disappointed that we didn't go out and get a wide receiver. A lot of Giants fans wanted Jerry Jeudy. Denver's asking price was too high. I like that Shane is honest about his team and pretty much called them overachievers. It's not like he's trying to bash his own team, but he knows what this team is. And this team is far from, we're one piece away from winning a Super Bowl, which is the ultimate goal. So you want to build through the draft. You want to build a team that's going to compete year after year after year and then become Super Bowl contenders. It doesn't happen overnight when you've won 22 games in 5 years, unless you're the Bengals. I don't know how they put it all together, but they did. But, so the Kenny Golladay edition, to me, I look at that as our trade. I look at that as there's our trade. Yep. There's our number one receiver. We're getting him back after the trade deadline. Now, hopefully he performs like he did in Detroit. Hopefully he performs like the guy that earned a $72 million contract. And, like you guys said, he seems incredibly motivated. I don't know if that had to do with Kadarius Toney getting traded. I don't know if it had to do with him expecting the Giants to be a lousy team like they've been and him just going through the motions. And now he's like, oh my God, we actually have a chance to make the playoffs. I've never made the playoffs in Detroit. Now I want to make the playoffs. Now I want to help this team. Now I am motivated because, again, at the end of the day, these guys are human. And when you go into every week going, we got no chance, inevitably you're probably going to let down. They shouldn't, because they're professionals, but at the end of the day, the human aspect is, here we go again, we're going to lose. So maybe that when he's sitting on the bench and he's like, man, this team is 6-2, I could really help this team out. We could be really good. We can make the playoffs. Maybe that is going to work, saying we got a chance to win every game as opposed to we don't have a chance to win any game. Maybe that's what motivates him. But Kenny Golladay is going to be a big part. If we're going to make the playoffs and we're going to get this passing game going and we're going to score some more points, he's got to be an integral part of what we do.
And it would behoove him to start getting his butt in gear, because here's the thing. I don't think he's back here next year. So, if you're a GM and you're looking to sign him, and if he wants another big contract, it would behoove him to start showing a little bit more effort and putting some decent film out there for what could be his next team. Now, I don't think he'll be back next year, certainly not on the contract that he's on. But,
I'll tell you what, though. And I am definitely strongly leaning he won't be back.
Yeah. But if he plays well.
They only save $7 million if they cut him.
Mm-hmm.
So if Kenny Golladay goes out there and plays
lights out,
has 500 yards in the last 9 games, has 5 touchdowns in the last 9 games. I mean, if you're Joe Shane, you look at it, of course, the contract's horrible, but the way you look at it is I'm going to have to pay him $14 million to cut him. I'm saving $7 million. You question, can I get a receiver as good as Golladay for that $7 million? So if he has a really good second half, it's entirely possible he could be back with the New York Giants because of the amount of dead cap that it would cost. So that's even added motivation. So I hope, I don't want to say I expect, but I hope that Kenny Golladay can produce for the New York Giants, because we need it. And it would completely change this entire offense. It would open up the running lanes for Jones and Barkley, and obviously we need that number one option. So I feel like a lot of Giants fans over the last 2 weeks have either went to sleep because we had to buy and we're coming off a loss and then the McKinney thing, or they're just down in the dumps and they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop and they're anticipating a collapse. I am not. I am really excited about the second half for this team. And even their last game, I felt like it was the same exact style of play.
We just lost 2 punt return fumbles, which led to 10 points.
We still had a 10-minute drive in the second half. We still won the time of possession by like 7 minutes in that game. And that's including 2 fumbles. Imagine if we didn't fumble, the time of possession would have even been more in our favor. So I don't think that anybody's figured us out, like people have said, and they're worried that the offense isn't going to respond in the second half. I'm excited. I'm excited to see the coaching changes, because now these guys have had 2 weeks, and I think we could all agree the coaching's been phenomenal this year. So I'm really excited to see the changes in the offense, too, in the second half. It's exciting right now to be a Giants fan, in my opinion.
Yeah, these are 2 very winnable games. I mean, Detroit, Houston and Detroit back-to-back at home off the bye. I mean, this game we should win. The Detroit game, it's funny, the beginning of the year when I did the predictions for the Giants, I said there's always that 1 week that they should not lose, and they end up doing it. And this was the
Seattle?
game. No, this was the game I picked them to lose.
Okay.
And I was like, they're going to come off the bye. I figured they'd beat Seattle. And then I was like, they're going to come off the bye, and they're going to have a letdown against Houston. I had that feeling. However, I think they'll beat Houston. It's next week's game against Detroit that I get a little concerned about, because Dallas is after them on a short week. And I would be concerned, especially if they win this game and they go to 7-2, that they may overlook Detroit. I don't think that'll happen. That the coaching staff would let them, but again, it's a human element where they're sitting there going, God, we got a big game against Dallas on Thanksgiving. And it's hard not to think about the Cowboys when you're the Giants, and the Cowboys have owned us, over the last few years. And I would hope that doesn't happen. But I think when I look at the next 2 games, I think that Detroit one will worry me a little bit more than this one.
Yeah,
I think we should be able to handle our business this week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Detroit, they should win that game, but you're right. And I say, the coaches won't let them look past Detroit. I know that for a fact. But that being said, you're right. There is the human element where you're in one situation. Now you're looking forward to, like this morning, I had back-to-back doctor appointments. So I was at one doctor's appointment, and I'm thinking about the next one before I even finished the first one. So I kind of get where you're coming from with that. And Detroit, I think, just has a little bit better, I think, personnel in certain spots.
Yeah, their offense is better.
Yeah. So, but there is usually a game. And here's the other thing. The Giants are 17-34 coming out of the bye. So not a very good record post-bye, but they need a fast start. And that's one thing this team hasn't been able to do a whole lot of. They've come out of the gate slow. And I asked Mike Kafka this week, I said, Mike, what did you guys, when you did your self-scouting, what did you learn to help maybe pick things up? And he meant, Kafka doesn't really give any answers, but first down is an issue. I think the Giants are averaging less than 5 yards per first down, according to the league stats, which is not very good if you think about it. So now that puts you in second and long, and now you become a little bit more predictable. So I think they'd like to improve that. They'd like to be able to, hit some of these plays that they miss early on. So there's going to be some changes. And then the other thing I'm kind of curious to see is, do they make any changes on the offensive line? Maybe swap out Izudu for Nick Gates. I wonder about that.
I'd like to see Nick Gates if he's good to go. I'd like to see him get an opportunity to play. He's probably be an upgrade over what we've had. If he's his old self and fully recovered, and we'll see about that. But yeah, listen, I can't wait. And these next 2 games are must win in my opinion.
Yes.
They've got to win these next, because if they win these next 2 games, we're going to the playoffs.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think we're going to the playoffs even if we split, to be honest with you, because last night when the Falcons lost, I look at the NFC standings. I'm like, we're getting in if we go 9-8.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
But if we win these next 2 games, yeah, we're going to the playoffs, and it takes all the pressure off for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, you look at the next 2 games, like you said, there's 2 games you should win, puts us 8-2. You would think for sure we'd split with Washington. You would hope we could split with them. That's 9.
You would hope you would sweep them.
Right, but I'm saying the worst case scenario.
I hope we sweep the Eagles.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do too. But
that's a little bit more of a
that'll be tough. But then you look at Indianapolis, and that's another team that we should be able to beat. In Minnesota, they're 7-1, but they're a lot like we are. They're not blowing anybody out. They're not the greatest team. They're kind of winning close games the way we do. So I think that we could match up well with them too. There's definitely very winnable games. The Eagles, nothing would please me more than to beat them. I hate the Eagles. But
by the way, that last game I think is going to get flexed.
I would love that to be for the division. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. I don't know if anybody's going to beat the damn Eagles because they're good.
Well, they also have a kind of a favorable schedule.
Yeah, I was looking at it today. If they win less than 14 games, I'll be surprised.
This is the one thing I can say. I think Chris and I talked about this too. If the Eagles have everything wrapped up and they've lost the game, they're 15-1. I'm sure they would still love to beat the Giants. But is it worth it to sit there and start your guys when you're 15-1 and just to try to beat the Giants? And you get a guy like Jalen Hurts, if he pulls a hamstring or gets hit, and is it worth it? Is it worth hurting your Super Bowl run because you want to beat the Giants in a meaningless game? So it could actually play out in the favor of the Giants if the Eagles have everything wrapped up by week 18. It'd be week 18. So, we'll see. But, obviously 1 week at a time. But these, like you guys said, we have to. These are must wins. We have to beat these 2 teams. I feel like we're better than these 2 teams. We're at home. We're coming off a bye. You would think our guys have gotten healthier. The McKinney thing, because he's my favorite Giant. It sucks that happened, but
it was a lot of people are killing the poor kid. A lot of people are killing him for it. He should have known better. And I say this all the time with players. I don't think they sit and read their contracts. They trust the agents to read it and say, hey, this is what you're going to get paid. This is I don't think there are very many players that read the contracts.
Right.
And I believe McKinney when he said he didn't know that it was prohibited.
I believe that.
I really do. I mean, I talked to him the other day. I got him one-on-one just real quick to see how he was. And, I believe it was an honest mistake. It sucks that it happened. But everybody's like, oh, he should be fine. He should be cut. I mean, come on, let's take it. Let's take a step back here.
Like, listen, I don't think he's completely innocent. Like, I think there was people that went overboard with the defense where they said you could get in a cab ride and get hurt. You could get hurt getting out of the shower.
Right.
But like, it's not compared that, like, it's a little different. That's apples and oranges. But I agree with you guys that some people went way overboard, and people that are saying take his captain badge. No, he's a young kid. By all accounts, he's had really good character. It's why he's been anointed a captain as quickly as he has. He made a mistake. And
if he was being reckless, though, like if he was trying to pop wheelies,
he probably was.
Stupid,
let's be honest. He
probably was. But we don't know that. But if that's what he was doing, then I'd say, Xavier, what are you thinking there? But if he was just riding and he made a sharp turn, for example, and the thing tipped, we don't know what happened.
We don't know.
So,
I did a video on it, and people did. Some people killed me like, "Oh, you're too easy on a bad dog. Why are you so easy?" I'm like, I just said he should use better judgment, but it's not, he handled it better than because some people compare it to when JPP had the fireworks accident. I'm like, he handled that wrong. He didn't tell anybody. He went to the hospital. They cut his fingers off. He didn't let anybody in the organization know what happened. He did not handle it well. McKinney did. And yeah, it stinks, but it was an accident. These things happen. I do wish that he would have used better judgment, but at the end of the day, he's a young kid. He was on vacation. Stuff happens. I don't know. It hurts the Giants, and I wish that didn't happen. And I'm sure that he regrets it too. I know that he's remorseful about it, and gotta hope that he recovers quick and gets back out there, because he's a massive part of what we do on defense. And again, McKinney doesn't strike me as a guy that's out there being careless and being foolish and doing dumb things. It just, these things happen.
The learning experience.
It is, and you
hope he grows from it. I think he will.
I think I'm hoping he's back. He's maintaining optimism that he'll be back. I don't know if he got docked or anything like that. I don't think the Giants would do that to him, because remember, he's finishing up year 3, and pretty soon they're going to have to do an extension for this kid. So you don't want to create ill will by being petty. Do you want to?
I don't think they're going to dock him pay.
I don't think so either. While he's on NFI, they could, dock him his regular pay, but I'd be surprised if they do it. That's just not how the Giants roll. Now, if it was blatant and a big old, what to the organization or to the rules or whatever, then yes, I could see it. But I honestly believe that it was a mistake. He's a young kid. He was he wanted, if he was doing wheelies, now he learned. So,
listen, I'll say this. It's better it happens now than when this team matures and actually, and
when you need him for the playoffs.
I'd rather it happen. I don't want it to ever happen, but I'd rather it happen now than in 2 or 3 years, when we hope that this team's like a true Super Bowl contender.
Right.
So hopefully this is a learning experience and he grows from it.
And you hope that he's back in time for the playoffs, if there are indeed playoffs. I mean, so that's that. Now, guys, let's, before we start taking questions, which we'll do in just a little bit, folks, let's talk about what we expect in the second half of the season. What is the one thing, if you had to make a bold prediction, or, something that you're anticipating changing or being different or whatever, what are you thinking of?
I think I think you're going to see the passing game open up more, especially if Kenny Galladay's out there. I think you'll see them take more deep shots, depending on how much they can depend on the offensive line. But I do think that you're going to see, and I'm not saying they're going to throw the ball 40, 50 yards down the field, but I think you'll see a lot more of that in the second half. I would like to see more of, those play action bootlegs where you roll Daniel Jones out to one side and give him, an opportunity to pass or kind of cut off. I always feel like he's better when he rolls out, when he goes to one side of the field and just looks at the one side of the field. But I think that you're going to see them open it up a little bit more. And again, if Kenny Galladay comes back healthy, can produce, and he's that outside receiver, that's going to open up the middle of the field for Wan'Dale Robinson. So I think Wan'Dale Robinson could also have a major impact on what they do in the second half of the season. I still think you're going to see a heavy dose of Saquon, which you should. He's our best player. There's no question. But instead of a lot of these, check downs and these 4-yard and 6-yard passes, I think you're going to start seeing some deep stuff down the sidelines, if nothing else, to loosen up a defense so that the Giants aren't so predictable. And hey, man, if Daniel Jones ends up throwing a couple of interceptions, 40 or 50 yards down the field, and ends up being like a punt, that's okay. You can live with it. You don't want him to be careless with the ball, but at the same time, you don't want to become too predictable where everybody, pinches up close to the line of scrimmage and congests the middle of the field. It makes it difficult for him to complete a 4-yard pass. So I do think you'll see, again, it won't be Eric Coryell, but I do think you'll see some deeper shots down the field. And I think Kenny Galladay is going to be a big part of that. I really do.
I think here's what I'm going to say. First off, I think the team's going to be better in the second half than they were in the first. I don't think the record's going to match the first. I don't think we're going 6-2, but I think we're going to be a better team. I think we're going to grow as a team on both sides of the ball. I just don't think it's sustainable for us to continue to win all these close games the way in which we have. So we may go 4-5, but we may be a better team in the
especially playing the Eagles and Cowboys.
Cowboys in Minnesota. Here's what I'm going to say. I guess a hot take. Daniel Jones is going to have one or maybe even two signature moments in this second half. I think he's going to have 1 or 2 games where he really puts the team on his back for a win. And he's gonna win a game, whether it be against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, split with he's gonna win a game you don't expect, and he's gonna have a huge performance in that game. I think Daniel Jones is gonna show pretty significant growth in the second half.
He always plays well against the Eagles.
Yeah.
He seems to play well against the Eagles. I mean, we haven't had the best record against Philadelphia, but what is he, 2-4 or something? And really should be 3-3 if Ingram catches the ball that he put right in his hands.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he beat Philadelphia with a broken neck last year. So
I think he's gonna have one game where we're gonna need him to throw for a lot,
be that one.
And he's gonna have one signature game in the second half.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Speaking of Daniel Jones, guys, a big question over the bye week was when Joe Shane said, "Oh, we'll start having discussions about contracts," which, by the way, in retrospect, I think he meant within the organization, because they didn't have the money to really extend anybody. So maybe they were just talking about, okay, we want to bring Julian Love back. We want to bring this guy back. We want to maybe look at getting a long-term deal done with this guy. But let's talk about Daniel Jones. To me, the jury's still out, but he's trending towards, an extension. What does he need to do besides obviously win games to firm it up? I mean, stats you can talk about stats all you want. I don't know that, necessarily he's got to throw for 300 yards plus the rest of the way to seal up, although I'm sure that would help.
Yeah.
But what do you still need to see from him before you say, yes, no question about it, this guy's got to be re-signed?
I'll start. Couple things. One, I think if we make the playoffs, we're going to be in a position where he's coming back, regardless of what happens in the second. There are so many quarterback needy teams that we're going to be picking behind, and there's only so many quarterbacks to go around. So if we make the playoffs, I think he's coming back. But what I think Shane wants to see from him is what Shane pointed out. Shane has pointed it out now in several interviews during this bye week, during this 2-week stretch. He has highlighted what he has done. Big situations, 5-game winning drives, coming up big in the big moments. Jones needs to continue that. He needs to continue to, I don't think he needs to do anything exceptional. He needs to continue. Shane's not dumb. He sees what everybody else does. He knows this is a limited offense. He knows he doesn't have, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill to throw to like Tua Tagovailoa does, and they're going to play to the strengths of the football team, which is Saquon Barkley. But Jones needs to continue to take care of the football, and he needs to continue to, when called upon, come through in the big spots. And if he continues to be consistent and play like he did in the first half, he's coming back.
Yeah, I think, like Chris said, I think Jones needs to continue to show, winning attitude, be able to come up big in big spots. I think that he needs to beat, beating Dallas or Philadelphia would go a long way. Now, he has beaten Philadelphia, but these are obviously better teams. These are our division teams. I think this 5-game stretch, well, it's not a 5-game stretch. It's like a 7-game stretch, but we play 5 division opponents. And I think Daniel Jones needs to go like 3-2 against Washington, Philadelphia, and Dallas. I think that would go a long way in getting him here saying, okay, he has less than these other teams for the most part, and he's still able to go out there and find a way to lead his team to beat the likes of the Philadelphia Eagles and Dallas Cowboys. And he has played very well against Washington and Philadelphia. Dallas has kind of had his number. If there's one of the NFC's teams he hasn't played the best against, it has been Dallas. But he has played really well, especially Washington. He's had some of his best games against Washington. So I think he's got to show that he can beat the teams in the division. He's got to make the playoffs. I don't think we can have a collapse. Like Chris said, he's got to just continue to do what he's doing. I don't think we're going 6-1 or 5-2 in the second half, or however many games we have. We're 6-2, so we have 9 games. So I don't think he's going 7-2. Maybe we go 5-4. If we can go 5-4, I think he comes back. But I think that he just has to continue doing what he's doing and improve week by week. And, he's shown great command of the huddle. He's shown great leadership. I think those things need to continue. And I think the more confident he gets, the more of a leader he becomes, the more he proves that he can continue to win these big games and big spots. And I like Chris said, there's a lot of quarterback needy teams ahead of us. There's a lot of teams out there that need a quarterback that aren't going to be able to draft one. Daniel Jones may not be, Joe Burrow. He may not be Justin Herbert or Josh Allen, but he's better than
average at this point.
League, and you take that at this point, especially when he's got nothing around him. You sit there and go, God,
I was looking at it today, and we did this on our show a couple of weeks ago. I was looking around the league today. this is like indisputable quarterbacks that he's better than right now. And that's without any help in terms of the wide receivers. He's better than whoever's the Carolina quarterback right now. He's better than Andy Dalton. He's better than Mariota. That's 3. I think he's better than Goff. That's 4. I think he's better than Fields. I know Fields have been playing better, but that's 5. He's probably better than Aaron Rodgers this year. I know that's crazy for people to hear, but Aaron Rodgers is not playing good.
He's better than Russell Wilson this year.
He's better than Russell Wilson this year. He's
better than whoever Pittsburgh puts out there.
He's better than Matt Stafford this year. He's been horrible.
Also, better than Carr.
At least comparable to Carr.
Yeah.
So we're already at 9.
Zach Wilson.
Better than Davis Mills. He's better than the Colts quarterback, Ellinger. I think he's at least as good as Tannehill, probably better. He's better than the Steelers quarterback, the rookie they got over there. He's better than Cleveland's quarterback. Like, he's at least an average quarterback in the NFL this year.
Mm-hmm.
At least. And that's without any help. So I'd be very surprised if Daniel Jones is not back in 2023. Very surprised.
Yeah. I think it's a given. And, a lot of people are like, well, this is a deep quarterback class. But yeah, this isn't the last time it'll be a deep quarterback class. And the Giants, you got to remember, where are they going to end up drafting? If they make the playoffs, they're going to be drafting 21 onward or 20 onward, whatever it is. They're not they're not trading up to get a quarterback. It's just not going to happen, folks. So it would behoove, and I keep saying this, if Daniel Jones is coming back, and I do think he is trending in that direction, it behooves Joe Schoen to get Daniel Jones done before they have to assign the franchise tag. This way, if Jones is done, you franchise tag Barkley if you need to buy some time and work out a long-term deal with him. Meanwhile, if you want to get an extension done with Julian Love, you can work on that on the side. If you want to extend McKinney or Andrew Thomas, they're technically under contract for the next couple of years. You can do that.
Right.
That's
Dexter
how
Lawrence.
I think the Giants – Dexter Lawrence too. Yep. That's how I think the Giants are going to let this play out, or hoping that it plays out.
Yeah, if you don't need to address the quarterback spot in the offseason, when you get to your draft 21 or whatever, you could definitely address wide receiver. That's something that they could definitely address, or interior offensive line to help Daniel Jones, because again, you look at the growth that he's had this year, throwing to Richie James and David Sills and whoever else they've thrown out there, Marcus Johnson. He really has had no help. Tony had no receiving yards when he was here. Galladay's been hurt most of the year. Wandale, he's coming back. But
Sterling,
he has no
with the injury. Yeah, Sterling Shepard with the injury.
Yeah, Sterling Shepard, right. So Jones has had no help, but you got to start thinking to yourself, if he can do this with the limited resources around him, what could he do if we do get him a better offensive line and a true number one wide receiver, a guy that can really be productive in the wide receiving game? There's a lot of good wide receivers out there. It's a deep wide receiver class. So that's a direction I could see them going to, because it's going to be harder to get a quarterback than it is going to be to get a wide receiver or an interior offensive lineman if you're picking 21st. So
yeah,
I think that I do. The beginning of the year, I would have said anybody that thinks he's coming back is insane. There ain't no way. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. He's shown nothing to show that he belongs back here. That he proved me wrong, and I'm glad that he did.
He's right now an average starting quarterback in the league. Yep. I think that's very fair to say.
Yes.
And with potential to be much better, because he has nothing right now.
Right.
And I see Muted Growl brought up a point in the chat. He said DJ may want to test free agency at this point. I don't think that's going to be the case. And then his second point says, I didn't think there'd be a market for DJ. I agree there would be a market for him if he hit the open market, because of all the teams I just said. Look at how many quarterback-needy teams there are in the NFL right now, and he would be by far, when you look at the potential free agents outside of Lamar Jackson, who Baltimore is going to keep, he would be by far the best option for any of the teams. So there would be a market for him, and I think the Giants know that. But I think Jones is going to come back. I think that's his smartest decision. He gets to come back in the same scheme for the first time in forever, and gets to build upon what he built this year with Dable, knowing that they're going to add him some weaponry next year. So I just think it makes too much sense for Jones to want to stay here. And I think it makes too much sense for the Giants for at least another year to want to keep Jones.
Yeah. And you don't give him huge money. You don't pay him like, Tom Brady in his prime or
you're not giving him franchise quarterback money. You're giving him bridge quarterback money, which is like what Ryan Tannehill got, a 3-year, $80 million deal, something along those lines. That's what he's going to more than likely get.
Yeah, because if Jones comes back, if he does sign, say, a 3-year, $80 million deal, and the Giants continue to build around him, and they get better, and they become Super Bowl contenders, then that's when he's going to get paid. That's when he could get his, because quarterbacks have a much longer shelf life than a running back. Like Barkley's could probably get you. He's going to want to get paid. He's had a lot of injuries. Running backs shelf life usually ends about the time they're 29. They start to kind of fall off. It's just because of the demanding, the physicality of that position. Quarterbacks can play into their 30s, 40s, as you've seen with Tom Brady. Of course, Tom Brady's kind of an anomaly. That guy's not human. Even Father Time looks like he's catching up with Brady, though, now. But Jones would still be very young. What would he be, 27, 28 after 3 years? And he'd be right in the prime of his career.
Sure.
So it definitely stands that Jones could come back here for the next 3 years with this front office, build around him. Then he becomes a top 10 quarterback or right around there. And he gets top 10 quarterback money, 3 years, 4 years from now, where he's making $35 million a year. So, yeah, it would, like Chris said, it would be better for him, because if he goes somewhere else and then he has to learn a whole new system and he kind of takes a little step back. And then he's not going to have the ability to get that big contract the next time. So we'll see. But I feel like whatever this coaching staff has done with Daniel Jones, he's definitely bought into it. And it shows. He's a much more confident quarterback than he's been his previous 3 years here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. If you have questions, start putting them in the comments box, and we'll start taking some of your questions when we come out of the break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This episode of the LockedOn Giants podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Small business owners, if you're looking for the right people to help your small business fire on all cylinders, check out LinkedIn Jobs. You can post a free job listing in minutes to reach the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hiring hashtag frame to your profile to let everybody know that you're hiring. Over 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn Jobs every week and are just waiting to find opportunities with employers like yours. With LinkedIn Jobs, simple tools like screening questions make it easy to figure out which candidates have the right skills and experience so that you can prioritize whom you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses everywhere rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality candidate hires versus leading competitors. So post your job for free today at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, everybody. Welcome back to LockedOn Giants Live. You got me, Patricia Traina. You got Tainah and the dog.
There you go.
There we go.
Seven. You took a step back.
Oh, okay. Come on, the next break. I'm going to do better because it's going to get later at night. No, I'm going to get better. I mean,
you'll get better. You'll get better. Yeah. Practice makes perfect.
It does. It does.
You think my first stand up was a 10 out of 10? No way.
I do. I could see it being a 10 out of 10.
I think his first stand up, he fell down. Honestly.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
If I remember that scream correctly.
Yes.
Brutal, man. Brutal. All right, folks, let's get to some of your questions here. Let's start off with this one from Gabe, who wants to know, what are you hearing with the Giants and Odell? Is there a chance? Okay. I should record this answer and like keep playing it, because I also got this question for the Giants Country mailbag that's dropping tomorrow. The Giants don't have money to get Odell done this year. Now, I know you're saying, okay, but if he signs, say, the first week in December, it's prorated. I get that. But, folks, the Giants don't have enough cap space to do anything more than, say, the minimum. And even that's pushing it. Odell supposedly wants a multi-year deal. If you're Joe Shane, do you really, really want to spend on a guy who's on the wrong side of 30, who's coming off 2 ACLs? Look, Odell can help a team. Don't get me wrong. Could he help the Giants team? Probably. Definitely. But, are you better off? Are you better off going with a younger guy who you're going to have for a lot longer than, say, maybe Odell, who, maybe at best will get like a 2-3 year deal and with it out after, 2 or after 2 years.
Yeah. To me, the Odell thing's a fairy tale. And maybe it will happen. And if it does, I'll be happy. I know Giants fans would be ecstatic about it. It'd be a great story for him to come back. We need help at the wide receiver position. It's a fairy tale. It's not happening. I think Odell right now is trying to draw up excitement because he's trying to draw up his market, whether it's the Giants, the Cowboys, whoever, and as he should be trying to get as much money as he possibly could. And in the end, that's where he's going to go. The team that offers him the most money. And I could assure you that team's not going to be the Giants. Joe Sheen has already come out and said, not said, but basically showed you, I'm not willing. I have a long-term plan. I'm not going to damage the future, which is what it would take to sign him. You're not signing him for a contract for 4 weeks. You're going to have to commit multiple years to a guy coming off of 2 ACL surgeries. So I don't see it. I hate to say it because I know Giants fans are going to go bananas if it happens. I think he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy.
I think so too.
And I hate saying that, but that's where I think he's going to end up.
Yeah.
Listen, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Not this year. I can't afford to do anything. I still feel before he retires, he's wearing Giants blue. 2 years when we are Super Bowl contenders. That's when you bring him in here as that last piece that kind of like the Rams did. The Rams brought him in. They were a very good team, obviously a Super Bowl contender, a Super Bowl winner. When the Giants are in the position the Rams were, that's when Odell Beckham's coming back here. That's just gut feeling. And that's not too far off, but it's not this year and it's not next year. And it'll be a nice story for him to come back where he started and get a ring with the Giants because I know he wants to. But like you said, he wants money. Everybody wants money, and there's nothing wrong. If somebody's going to give Odell Beckham 3 years, $30 million, and the Giants say, hey, we can give you the league minimum. I mean, what are you going to do?
He'd be stupid to take
$30 million as opposed to, hey, I can take $1.5 million. No.
Yeah.
He better not go to Dallas.
Yeah.
Not that I'd be mad at him, but it just doesn't look right. It don't. It doesn't.
You know what? You know what will look right to him though.
Better than the Eagles, though.
Yeah.
If they give him the most green, he's going to Dallas.
Oh, absolutely. And Jerry, I think, wants him badly.
But I mean, if he wants to win a ring, does he really want to go there? I mean,
I agree with you. I don't want him to, but I'm leaning because all right. You think about the other rumor teams. The Packers aren't happening. They're 3-6.
Bills.
Maybe the Bills.
Yeah.
Maybe the Bills.
I gotta see what their cap space looks like. Let me see. And by the way, Dustin, the Giants did not restructure. I'd be surprised if they restructure Kenny Golladay. I mean, they have to. They might have to this year because they just don't have enough money, and I don't know where the heck they're going to get it. I did the math. They don't have enough to get through the rest of the year, especially if these injuries keep coming up. But I don't see them restructuring Golladay to fit Odell into the cap. That's not happening. So let's I'm sorry to burst your bubble there, but all right. Cowboys have $6.954 million cap space. Who else did we say, guys?
Bills.
Let's see what they have. They have.
I think the Chargers are another one.
918,000.
Oh, they don't have any money.
So they'd have to move, but that's a team that may be willing to move stuff around because they're competing for a Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah, they're not. They're there now.
I think the Ravens are another team that could be interesting, and the Chargers. Those would be my 4 teams that I could see.
Yeah, but what's the Chargers' records? They're not.
They're 5-3.
5-3. Okay. So they're in the. I'm thinking they're in the same division. Brain blip on my part. All right. Let's see. Carlos.
What about a team like New Orleans?
The Saints?
What are they, like 3-6 or something?
But that division is
4.5.
so crappy. Carolina. I don't know if you would go there. Those teams aren't going to be contending for a championship. But
I think it's going to come down to Dallas. I could see him going to Dallas because, Dallas is, everything's bigger in Texas, or so they say. So I would not be surprised if Dallas makes a full court press to get him. And is it going to hurt? Yeah, but I could see. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas does it. Gets a deal done with him before the game against the Giants on Thanksgiving. Can you just imagine?
What about Tampa Bay? He's always seemed to like Tom Brady.
Yeah, but how much longer do you think Tom Brady's going to be there?
No, and this is it.
Yeah, so I don't think.
I'm just throwing their
I'm
name
thinking
in there.
Dallas. If I had to lay money,
I agree
down,
with you. If I'm making a pick,
Dallas.
Then I got to root for somebody to just knock his block off. Not because it's nothing personal, Odell, just business.
Yes,
we don't like that star over
Boy,
here.
you're being savage tonight, dog. I love it. You're being savage, man.
I don't like this. I don't like the teams in this division.
I can tell.
I can't.
Oh my
I
goodness.
hate Dallas and Philadelphia. I can't stand either one of them teams.
Oh my gosh. All right. Carlos wants to know, what adjustments in the run game do you see us doing to stay ahead of defenses?
What adjustments? What was the question?
What adjustments in the run game do you see us doing to stay ahead of defenses?
I just think last week was a team that, Seattle had a really athletic defense, and they did a good job in terms of containing our run. And in terms of adjustments, they did a good job
against the offensive line. Maybe, like I said, swapping out Azudu for Gates. I don't know.
I don't know how many adjustments you could make. Run more of an RPO. I just think we got beat up at the line of scrimmage last week. We got to do a better job.
I don't know if you could get more pre-snap motion. I don't know if some counters would help, where you start one direction and then the linemen pull the other way, and you try to get the defensive flow to go one way and try to confuse them with something like that. Maybe you do more, a jet sweep. Not that that's Barkley's thing, but maybe use Wan'Dale Robinson with jet sweeps or something like that. Or those little quick, they're shovel passes where the guy runs like a jet sweep and just pitch it forward. I don't know really what can be done. The Giants have run the ball. Listen, I don't think the Giants, it's not like people have figured us out. I think people knew from day one.
Yeah.
You go into the Giants, you play the Giants, you're not going to sit there and go, oh, God, we got to worry about Richie James and David Stills taking the top off the defense. I'm sure every single defensive coordinator going into the game against Giants, like, we got to stop 26. We got to stop 26.
If you didn't have the Giants figured, like fans that are saying, oh, the Giants are figured out after, if you didn't have the Giants figured out after week one, if you're a defensive coordinator, you should be fired.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are we talking about? Like these fans that are saying, oh, we're figured out. We've been figured out since week one. Everybody knows that
Everybody knew it. Yeah.
Everybody knows we got, the beer salesman, the hot dog salesman, and the
Home Depot guy
salesman as our three wide receivers. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that the offense runs through Saquon Barkley. Seattle just did a good job stopping it. The Giants have to do a better job going forward.
The Giants didn't have a good game. Listen, it happens. That's a tough place to play. Again, I'm not blaming the travel, but a flight from Jacksonville to Seattle is about as long as you can get in the United States. Giants had traveled from London back to New Jersey, down to Jacksonville, all the way across the country to Seattle. And I think maybe they just got tired. I
think that's
Seattle is a good team. It's not like they're a bad team. They have surprised a lot of people, and we just didn't execute. Like Chris said, we played the same game that we play every week. We had two critical fumbles on punts that cost us 10 points. The final score of that game is not indicative of how close that was. We had a chance to tie the game at the end. I'm not saying we would have. We had a tough time moving the ball the entire game, but Daniel Jones has shown the propensity to come back week in and week out. I would have liked to have had that opportunity. We had a lot of penalties. We didn't execute. And the Giants are a team that has to execute because they're not beating people by making mistakes. We're not good enough to overcome mistakes like that. It happened. We move on. We got the bye. We have 2 winnable games here. And again, I don't think it's that we got figured out. I think we made some mistakes that Giants can't make mistakes if they're going to win football games, especially against a good team like Seattle.
Yeah,
and on the road, harsh environment with injuries,
and yucky weather too. I think it was drizzly out there in that game too. So, all right, JD asks, how much of a step back will the Giants take if they lose Kafka, Wink, or both in the offseason?
That's a really good question.
I want to start there with Kafka. I'd hate to see them lose him, but this is kind of Dable's system, so I don't think it'll be as devastating. I think if they lose Wink, that might sting a little bit more. Now, that said, I don't know necessarily. I'd be surprised if they lose either of them after just one season, because I think if you're a team, you want to make sure that the Giants are for real and that, they just didn't get lucky. Now, I don't think they got lucky because, I was just looking at the remaining strength of the schedule that they have. They've got the 3rd hardest schedule remaining in the league. over these last 9 games. So I think what they end up doing over these last 9 games is going to be very telling. If they go, if they win the majority of them, then maybe you'll see some of these conversations. But then again, you look at Indianapolis and they bring in Jeff Saturday off the streets, really, from coaching a high school team. So
I might fill out an application.
Seriously.
Why not? Why not? The other thing is, the Giants have been a nice story. Love the fact we're 6-2. Really think we're going to be 7-2. Really think we have a really good chance to make the playoffs, which is unbelievable in the first year of a rebuild to even sit there and talk about playoffs, because I didn't think we'd be close. Thought we'd be better than we were the last few years, but not this good record-wise. However, it's not like the offense is setting the world on fire. It's not like the defense is completely dominant. It's better, but is Wink really impressed somebody enough to go, wow, look at the turnaround of the Giants? We're not like a top 5 defense. We're top 12. I mean, we're good, but we're not
in the middle of the pack.
Dominating. We're not dominating on offense. We're good enough. I think that with another year, the Giants get better. Another year of Shane's and Brandon Brown's draft picks and Dable, and they get their guys and they get acclimated to their system. These guys have another year under their system. Yeah. And then they start to win more games in their defense and offense. Both gets better. Then you might say, let's bring a guy like Mike Kafka in here to be our head coach. So I wouldn't worry about it so much at the end of this year, but maybe at the end of next year, if the Giants improve, then I think you start to concern yourself with it. Because even look at 2007. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo was a beast, and he did not get a head coaching job. He came back to the Giants in 2008. So, I think maybe in 2024 I'd be more concerned about losing either one of those guys, but you don't know. You don't.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what I would be, and you don't know. You don't. I would be shocked if we lose Wink. Shocked, because the trends around the NFL right now. Like if Wink was going to get a head coaching job, he would have got it when he was with Baltimore. They had like the best defensive football for 3 straight years. Couldn't get a head coaching job. And the trends in the NFL, you look at Brian Flores, couldn't get a job. He's more of a defensive guy.
Right.
Teams are trying to hire young, offensive-minded head coaches like the Giants did with Brian Dable. So I'm much more concerned, at least long-term, losing Kafka. I don't think we'll lose Kafka this year because the offense is limited. They're not, and he's doing as good of a job as he can, but I don't think we'll lose Kafka this year, but I'd be very surprised if we lose either one this year. And if we're going to lose one, I would lean more towards Kafka just because of the trends from within the league. You generally want to hire an offensive guy, as opposed to a defensive guy, and Kafka's younger and so on and so forth. So I think Wink will be back. I think Wink's found a home here. I think he's happy here, and I think the Giants are happy with him. So I think he's good. Not only next year, I think Wink's going to be here for a good amount of time. I think he's going to be here hopefully for at least 3, 4, 5 years as the defensive coordinator. Kafka, at some point, if this offense gets to where I hope it will, I think we'll get a job somewhere, but not quite yet.
Yeah, and I hate to see Kafka move on, but that's what happens. Nobody's here forever, as we found out with Tom Coughlin and Eli Manning and some of the other great Giants, Victor Cruz, Lawrence Taylor, Phil Simms. So, all right. Tyrone Bowman, do we draft a wide receiver or an inside linebacker with our first round pick? Kind of an interesting. I don't think it's going to be an inside linebacker. I think of those two, and I know it's a deep receiver class, or it's shaping up to be a deep receiver class. I think you go with receiver.
Yeah, I think it depend on what we did in free agency,
and it also depends on the draft board. Like I don't, if there's not a receiver worthy of taking there, we won't. You're not going to force it. But yeah, I definitely think even if we sign a free agent wide receiver, if there's a wide receiver worth drafting where we're picking, I think we're taking one anyway. Like it's that big of a need. And I think it's so important to find out what we have in Daniel Jones. Obviously if we're drafting a wide receiver in the first round, Daniel Jones is coming back. So to find out what we have in Daniel Jones, and if Jones does not work out, at least to have that weaponry to be able to support the guy that you used to replace Daniel Jones in the following draft. So I think that has to be objective number one this offseason. Get some weapons on this football team. So if there's a receiver worthy of drafting with that pick, I think that's where we're leaning.
Yeah. All right. Dustin insists that the Giants have money for Odell. Dustin, they don't have the money. I can't stress this. They have $2.756 million That's not going to get it done with Odell. You've got to sign him to, whatever the prorated version of the base salary is. And what is Odell? How many years has Odell been in the league now?
Since
I'm trying to remember.
2014. I think this is his 8th year, 9th year.
Okay. Let me look up something real quick. NFL minimum salaries. Just to kind of, prove to you
We don't have money for anything.
No, you barely got money to make the roster moves that you need to. Okay.
Yeah, this is
so
ninth year
Odell is what, 8 years you said? So
this is ninth. This will be his ninth year.
Okay, so he would be due minimum salary $1.12 million. All right. Now you divide that by 18 and then you multiply that by whenever you get him. So let's say that he signs next week, which would be what, week 11? So now you do the math. Okay. Now you got to throw in the signing bonus, which gets prorated. What's going to be the signing bonus? It's not, I guarantee you to sign Odell, it's going to be a pretty penny. Yeah. They don't have the money, Dustin. Trust me. I did this exercise. I mean, unless there's some kind of cap mechanism that I'm not taking into consideration, Odell coming to the Giants this year is a fantasy. So,
he's not coming.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be like harsh on you, but
and like you guys mentioned, Dallas is in a better situation than we are. We're in the middle of a rebuild with no cap space and new GM, new head coach, new everything. So they want to build with their guys. Like you said, Pat, is your future, and I love Odell, right? But does Joe Shane say, okay, I want to bring in a 31-year-old wide receiver who has had multiple injuries, including 2 torn ACLs? No. Is he the future of the Giants? Do I want to give this guy a 3-year deal when I could just draft a wide receiver in the first round and pay him a rookie contract? It's that time. Now, granted, you also don't know what Odell is going to be. So it's very possible that, hey, maybe he does go to Dallas and maybe he's good. Maybe he's not. Maybe he gets hurt again. But at the same time, the Giants can't afford to take the risk because we don't have the cap flexibility that a team like Dallas does. We don't have the talent. If we sign Odell and he gets hurt and we give him money, we have money for nothing else, and we don't have anything to fall back on, where Dallas is already a pretty solid team. They don't need him. He's an addition. We need everything we can get. Yeah. We're having a hard time just filling out our roster right now. So Odell it's a luxury, and it's unfortunately a luxury we can't afford right now. Like I said, next year, if he was available, if we're talking about this next year and we're 8-2 and we have $18 million in cap space or $15 million in cap space this time next year, and
then it makes sense.
It's a different story. But this year,
forget it. It's a dream. Yeah. It's a dream, guys. I don't mean to crush your dreams, but look at it realistically. I mean, the Giants are more than one player away, and Shane, as it is, he's going to probably have to redo Galladay's contract just to get some of that money back. And I know he's putting that off as long as possible so that he doesn't put himself in a deeper hole with that if he wants to get out of it after this year. So it's just, this is how bad this cap situation is. You hear me talk about it every week. The cap situation is bad, and I've never seen it this bad. That's how poor they did it with managing it. But all right, Papa Guzzo wants to know if KT gets Thibodeau, if he gets some sacks, do you see him getting some holding penalties against him? I don't know what KT's got to do to get some flags. I mean, I guess maybe he does have to build up that reputation.
I don't even know if it's a reputation or I don't know.
Sell it better. He's got to sell it better.
That's what I think it is. I think it's experience. I think it's more experience in the league. He'll become more crafty in terms of being able to sell those penalties. He's a rookie.
He's got to start throwing his hands up in the air. He's got to start when he get. You got to overact a little bit.
Yeah, I think
straight. Yeah, get with straight.
Grab his attention.
I think that's what it is. I think he's a rookie and he's still learning the tricks of the league.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. But you know what? He does, to my eyes, he does get mugged a lot. I mean, and I said it to him the other day. I said, dude, I said, did you check your wallet? Make sure you still had your wallet after the game.
Does he have a nickname, by the way? I know you have nicknames for players you like. Does he have a nickname yet?
For me, I mean, I've been calling him KT.
Okay.
I mean,
you called Daniel Jones Dollars.
Danny Dollars. Yeah, I'm using that headline, man. When he signs his contract, I'm using that headline. You heard it here on this show first. I came up with that. Danny Dollars.
Danny Dollars.
All right.
Deutschmarks.
All right. Let's see some other questions. 3 million for 5 games this year. All right. So Dustin's asking again with Odell, 3 million for 5 games this year. Dustin, I just said the Giants have under 3 million. Where are you getting the money from? You're going to contribute to the pot? I mean, come on, man. Come on. I know you want Odell back.
Odell's off limits for the rest
Yeah,
of the show. Odell's not coming here, guys. If he does, we'll talk about it. But he's not coming here, guys.
Yeah.
So. I know that's a hot story, and I know a lot of reporters are asking that question today because it's clicks and it's what you guys want to talk about. But I am going to go into the assumption he's not playing as a Giant this year.
Yeah.
All right. The Big Moon wants to know, do the Giants submit questionable calls to the league officiating office? Yes. That is done. I don't know which calls get submitted, but I do know that the Giants do send questionable calls, in on a fairly regular basis. So, what does it accomplish though? It's not like, if the league agrees with them that the officials erred, it's not like they're going to go back and replay it, but I guess it's used as a teaching point, which, never quite understood that, so.
Yeah, they got to do something about Jerome Boger. He's losing it. I mean, when you call the Seahawks the Mariners, we got some whole thing. So do on the Mariners.
Not one of his better games, I don't think.
Well, the one game every time he officiates a Giants game, I'm like, oh God. He gave the Panthers 5 downs on the one we're going to kick the 63-yard field goal against us. I am like, how? They spiked the ball on 4th down. They got another down. There's some officials that I'm just like, what? Not this guy. Oh God, not this guy. I think Clete Blakeman's another. If I know an official's name, there's an issue because I don't. One of my subscribers knows every umpire, every official. He's amazing. I don't know any of them. I only know them when the Giants have had issues.
It's like when you call an offensive lineman's name. If you do, they're not doing a good job.
Correct.
Same thing with the referees.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that was not one of his better games.
Mariners, though. That was pretty funny.
I know. I was like, I had to do a double. I'm like, did I hear right? Did he say the Mariners?
He said the Mariners.
Good Lord. I was like, where did that come from?
Maybe he's a Mariners fan or something. I don't know. But that was pretty funny.
Seattle Mariners? I mean,
that was pretty funny, though. I was like,
all right, let me see. I'm still getting a lot of Odell questions because I know some people are like, why do you keep bringing them up? I'm like, because that's what I'm getting. So I'm trying to.
We got one here from Tyrone asking about the offensive line.
Okay, I'm looking for Tyrone.
I always love talking about the offensive line.
I'm trying to find the question. Yeah, because
I can read it if you. Okay,
go ahead because I'll look for it.
All right, Tyrone says, "What are your thoughts on this offensive line going forward? Thomas, Ezeudu, Gates, Bredesen. I think this specific one he's talking about. Thomas, Ezeudu, Gates, Bredesen, Neal, Glowinski, and Feliciano are just not that good. Bredesen is surprising and very young, so he's saying, I guess he means going forward. Does he think that?"
Ezeudu's going to be fine. I think, once he gets his feet wet. Right now, still a little shaky. But you know what? Going forward, if you're talking about like next year, I think Feliciano is going to get replaced now. Is it going to be Nick Gates? Are they going to draft a center? I still say Nick Gates' best spot is at guard.
I agree with you on that.
Yep,
so where do you plug him in? Because you got Glowinski coming back next year. Ideally, I think they want to get Ezeudu into the lineup at some point, so, maybe you re-sign Nick, who's going to be a free agent after this year, assuming that everything works out. You put him at center for a year and maybe you draft a young center in like round 2 or round 3, build him up. And then when Glowinski's contract is up, and I think they can get out of it after next year, if I'm not mistaken, then you put Nick out there and the young center in the middle there.
Yeah. Tyrone, I don't know who will be the starting guards next year, but I mean, I think Bredesen's a free agent. Did you say that? I think he's a free agent next year. So
yeah, I think so.
I don't know if he'll come back or not. We'll see, but it may be Bredesen. It might be Glowinski, but regardless of whatever the starting offensive line is next year, the only two guys that are certain out of what you said to start next year are Neal and Thomas, and Ezeudu hopefully trends towards that because we drafted him in the 3rd round. We'll see, but whoever it is, I don't think we have the long-term answer in terms of the 5-man line quite yet. I think we're still
it's still a work in progress.
He'll address that in the draft this year.
Yeah, we're still going to continue to draft
11 picks.
And Shane knows it. He knows it. He's realistic. The one thing I like about Shane is that he's honest without being, without putting these guys down. He's very honest where things are. Remember when Dave was here? Oh, we can compete, blah, blah, blah. He was trying to, and I understand what Dave was trying to do, but at the same time, it's like, stop trying to oversell it, because I thought he was trying to oversell things a little too much. Whereas Shane is like, look, we want to try and compete, but his actions are pretty much saying that we're not there yet, guys. We're going to get there, but we're not there yet.
Right. I don't know if Gettleman ever truly had a direction that he was trying to take the Giants. Like, I don't know if he did. And if he did, I felt like it changed every year.
Yeah.
You mentioned
it was knee jerk. I thought it was a knee jerk reaction.
And you mentioned this, a couple of shows back, Pat, that this coaching staff always seemed like they had a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And I also think that the front office has that too. I feel like they are very well prepared. And I do believe, they're looking at the draft. They're like, whenever they get to that point, there's certainly guys that they're out there scouting that they're going to like. If this guy's not here, we're going to go this guy. If this guy's not here, we're going to go this guy. If that position's not there, we don't like that guy, we're going to go with this position. We have a lot of needs, and we're not just going to reach to reach. If there's a receiver there that we don't like, we're not going to take one just because we need it. If there's a better interior offensive lineman or a center or somebody else that we feel is going to be more valuable to the team, as opposed to, a position just for need. You don't ever draft for need. It's just, you can't just draft one because you need one. Chris mentions that about the quarterback all the time. You can't just reach for a quarterback because you need a quarterback. You don't just draft.
That's what the worst teams do.
Right. So I feel like these guys, they'll make the right decisions, but I do think that the offensive line, definitely the offensive side of the football, is something they're going to concentrate a lot on this year. Right,
yeah.
definitely.
And Muted Growl, and I see a couple of comments. Muted Growl hit it on the head with Gettleman, in my opinion. Great scout, awful GM. I think, and there's more that goes into being a GM than drafts, right? And his drafts, when in retrospect, were at least decent. When you see how some of these players are performing now, but the other parts of his job,
the cap management.
Now, I will say the Odell trade worked out. We got Dexter Lawrence for Odell. That kind of worked out in hindsight. But a lot of his moves, the cap management, just the direction of the team. Like Bad Dog was saying, it was helter-skelter. Didn't really have a direction from day one. And maybe some of that had to do with the coaching change, because when you brought in Joe Judge, you were starting all over again. So that's why you always want your coach and GM on the same timeline. But regardless, I think his drafting was at least slightly above average, probably.
Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, Avery McKinney, Saquon.
But it was everything else that was
bad. I mean,
his trades were bad. You're getting Alec Ogletree, that was, but the Solder thing didn't work out.
Cap management was just
the Kenny Galladay thing obviously didn't work out.
Yeah.
So he just.
Yeah. All right. Brandon Swan wants to know. He saw a post talking about the top 10 rookies right now. Sauce Gardner, number 1. KT was not on the list. I'm not surprised that he wasn't on the list, because KT obviously, started off slow with the injury. So I can understand why he wouldn't be on the list. That being said, I did not see the entire list. And from what I understand, Sauce Gardner is pretty good. I mean, I don't know who else is on the list.
I watched the Jet game this past week because we were on a bye. Sauce Gardner's freaking awesome. But let me ask you guys. I don't know if you guys saw my tweet. I asked my followers on Twitter, if you were doing a draft today, because you remind me with the Sauce Gardner comment, if you were doing a draft today and you couldn't take a quarterback, I'm saying that our current NFL players, I'm not talking about out of college, you were drafting NFL players, factoring in age, like obviously you're going to think younger, factoring in age and positional importance, who would be the 5 players you would draft right now? Andrew Thomas on my list, by the way.
Yeah. You're talking about anybody or
anybody in the league?
Anybody in the league. I would love to get Sauce. I mean, Sauce has been pretty good.
I'll tell you my 5. I'll see if you guys agree.
All right.
And I'm going to say, I originally said worse, but I'm going to put Sauce in there instead.
Andrew Thomas.
Parsons.
Yeah, definitely.
Jamar Chase.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. How many is that? 4?
Jamar Chase, maybe, is your 5th?
Maybe. Yeah, I guess I could go with him.
Who are those 5? Jamar Chase, I could definitely see. Sauce, yes. Micah Parsons, absolutely.
Andrew Thomas.
Andrew Thomas.
I mean, you could also
Chris, you know my guy. I love Creed Humphrey. I think the center is so, but I swear to God, man, the center is such an overlooked position. He is like one of the best linemen in the league. And he always, I mean, the guy is just a mauler. I freaking love Creed Humphrey. If you can put Creed Humphrey in the middle of Thomas and Neal, I mean, we had a chance to get him too. But yeah, I definitely think that, your tackles are extremely important. The cornerback is a lockdown corner, especially in this day and age, is extremely important because it allows you to blitz. It allows you to be aggressive on defense. You have a lockdown corner when you got a side of the field that everybody says, oh, Trayvon Diggs is great. Trayvon Diggs had all these interceptions. It shows you he's not great because if you're getting 11 interceptions, it's because quarterbacks test you because you're giving up big plays. Guys like Darrelle Revis, I'm not throwing over there. Champ Bailey, I'm not throwing over there.
Lockdown side of the field.
Looking over there.
Yep.
You've already eliminated, and not to mention, that guy can take one of the best offensive players away when he locks down a number one receiver. It's very important. I feel like if Sauce Gardner was not drafted by the Jets and fell to 5, the Giants actually probably.
I think they would have taken him.
I don't want to say no, but a guy that's given me information before would have told me he was number 1 on their draft board.
I would not be surprised. I had heard that he was very, very high on their draft board.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I think we were going to take him, but I just want to get your guys. I always think about stuff like that, and you remind me of it.
No, it's a fun exercise.
I really like Jalen Waddle too. I think Jalen Waddle is really.
And when you think about it on this team, if in a first round in that simulation without drafted quarterbacks, Dexter Lawrence is going in the first round. He might go in the top 15 the way that he's playing because he's still young. Yeah. You hope that Evan Neal may develop into a guy that you would take in a first round in a simulation like that, or a guy like Kayvon. Like, we have so much potential on this team. There's so many young players on this team that have not even come close to hitting their peak. I'm so excited about where
McKinney's another one. In my
McKinney's
opinion.
another one.
Yep.
Yeah.
But what's great about it, Chris, is we do have a lot of potential. But this time we have the right guys
to develop
that potential and develop the potential, where I don't feel like we had that for the last few years. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the front office. I'm excited about the coaching staff. I'm excited about the brains behind the operation now. Guys that have, like I said, I've said this before, we had 3 guys on the sideline last year with, Ivy League minds. Well, this year we got 3 guys on the sideline with football minds. And as smart as Ivy Leaguers are, doesn't always make you a great football coach. These guys know football. And it's pretty obvious when you're able to get the most out of the squad we put on the field week in and week out that we're 6-2. And that's what I'm most excited about. I feel like these guys, even before we were 6-2, it felt like they know what they're doing. They have a clear direction. They're clear and concise. They know what they want to do. And they're young. They're 21st century football minds, 21st century analytics, updated things. They understand today's game, where Dave Gettleman was kind of like, I'm the smartest guy in the room, doing things my way. You don't know. These guys, like you mentioned, Pat, they listen to the players and what they like to do. So I feel like that is what I'm most excited about, knowing that we're going to be in much better cap space. This was 6-2. A lot of people didn't pick the Giants win 6 games the whole year. Have a chance to make the playoffs, and yet this is the first year of a rebuild. So knowing what we put out there every week, knowing what we could be putting out there around Daniel Jones and guys like that, and getting this defense better and drafting better, younger players, it's exciting to be a Giants fan right now. We haven't had that excitement here in like 10 years. So it's good to have that back.
Right. All right. Real quick, got a question about Matt Parrott from Chris Peace. What's going on with Matt Parrott? He's been activated, or his 21-day window has opened. I've spoken to him a couple times. He feels great, but it's just a matter. You got to remember, these guys, they got to start moving around. They got to build up the stamina for football. And there's only so much you can simulate in practice, especially, Dable's been, dialing back some of the padded practices because of the injury situation. So we'll see where Parrott ends up landing, but he was optimistic that he's going to be back. He called, by the way, his nickname. You asked about nicknames, dog. Peartz's Big Poppy. That's his nickname, not my nickname for him, by the way. So
there's one Big Poppy, and I don't
Big
like
Poppy.
him either.
Yeah.
I don't like that guy one bit. Not nothing personal, but he just played for the a guy gave me night.
Played for the enemies.
Yes.
Yeah, he did. He really did play for the. If there's one team, people are like, who do you hate the most out of all the teams? Like the Eagles and the Red Sox are right. They're right there. So.
All right. Will the Giants start using Wan'Dale Robinson more?
I think they have to.
I think they have. Well, remember, he was coming. See, here's the thing, guys. When a player comes off injury, even the coaches are going to ramp them up in game time. They're not going to throw a guy out there for a full, workload. You see it all the time. And it's smart if you think about it. Let the guy get his feet back underneath him and let him just, get acclimated to how things are going. Now, I'm just trying to find here. He's played in 46% of the snaps so far in the 4 games that he's been active for. 4 games with 1 start. This is according to Pro Football Reference. So he's played in 46% of the offensive snaps. I do think moving forward, that is what they want to do. They want to get him more involved. Matter of fact, if you go back and you look at the snap counts from the last couple of games, you see snaps for David Sills starting to decrease a little bit, So you're starting to see that gradual shift, and I think you're going to continue to see it as, Wan'Dale Robinson gets further and further away from that injury and gets ramped up. So that's what I'm thinking his situation is going to be. All right. Timetable for Bellinger's return. And what are the thoughts on Cager? Bellinger, if I had to take a guess, and this is just a guess based on,
he looks good. He looks better.
He looks good, but I'm thinking Bellinger should be ready to roll by, and this fingers crossed here, by the first week of December. I think maybe after that Dallas game, because you're going to have a quick turnaround. They have the Eagles after that, right? Or they have Washington?
They have
Washington.
Washington. Okay.
Yeah, Washington.
We play the Eagles December 11th.
If you can get him in for that first Washington game, let him get acclimated. And again, then I think the Eagles are coming up shortly thereafter.
Yeah, they come up right. It's Dallas, Washington, and Philadelphia.
So that's
Washington.
So you want to have them, I think, certainly for that Eagles game, but maybe get them up to speed, if you will, in that first Washington game. That's my guess as to what the timetable is. But of course, it depends on how quickly he continues to heal. He's healing beautifully. He still has double vision, which obviously has to go away. But, everybody's different. So it's kind of hard to say, exactly when he'll be ready. But I'm guessing first week in December.
Double vision.
Cager.
Great song by Foreigner, by the way. That's a good group too.
Yeah. All right. As for Cager, I mean, I haven't seen anything that I don't like yet, but small sample size, to be honest with you. So, I'd want to see a little bit more from him, I guess. All right. Jersey Live 86. Do we keep Golladay if he has a great second half? We talked about that a little earlier. Jersey Live. I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, not at the cotton. I wouldn't, not at the cap figure he's due to make next year. Let me just see that cap figure for next year. I'm on over the cap right now. So let me just grab that real quick. Golladay is scheduled to make $21.4 million on that cap for 2023. I'd lower that number. He's got a $4.5 million roster bonus. He's got a $13.25 million base salary. I would not keep him on those numbers. I would see if I could maybe redo those numbers in some way, shape, or form. I haven't looked at possibilities for that because I still think Golladay is not going to be on this team. Quite honestly, I want to hammer out a Saquon contract. That's going to be a fun project for me to do. I have a rough idea.
You're big into the contracts, and I think that, like you said, I think Jones and Saquon's contracts are really interesting this offseason. Like because that's Shane's first test in terms of construction of these contracts and how we're going to see how he differentiates himself from Dave Gettleman. I'm really excited about those two players individually if they bring them back, what they're going to do. In the end, what do you think because I think we're signing Saquon if he finishes the year. But what do you think the contract's going to be with Saquon?
I can give you numbers, Chris, but it's the structure that you got to look
Of course.
at. Numbers. So here's what I'll tell you, and this is what I'm going to do when I sit down and do this exercise. I'm going to look at what Buffalo has done, because obviously Shane, coming from Brandon Beane's school of contracts, and Buffalo has done some creative stuff. There's one mechanism Buffalo has done called tiered guarantees. I'm almost positive that's going to show up in if not Daniel's contract, definitely Saquon's contract. Then I'm also going to take a look at what the Eagles have done with some of their contracts, because Howie Roseman, he's like, I hate to give the guy credit, but you got to give him credit. That guy's a master
they sign everybody and they still have money. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, because Howie Roseman is the master of the salary cap. I mean, look, give credit where it's due. I know it hates.
No, I'm
I
not.
know we all have to wash our mouth out.
We signed someone from the enemy. Brandon Brown's
right.
over
That's
here.
true.
Exactly. So bingo. There you go. And I was just going to say, you've got the best of both worlds. You got what Brandon Beane has done off in Buffalo, and you got what Howie Roseman has done in Philadelphia. And you don't think that Brandon Brown didn't pick up some of that stuff? You don't think Joe Shane didn't learn a thing or two under Brandon Beane? Yeah. So when putting together a contract, I don't care. I'm not worried about the numbers, because as we know, the numbers get finagled. They get over-reported.
Right.
And so I'm more concerned with the structure, the guaranteed.
The guarantee is what you worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had come up with a projection for Saquon. I think it came out to about an average of just over $15 million a year, which I know some people say is a lot, but I don't see Saquon playing for less per year than, say, an Alvin Kamara, who's never had, I don't believe has ever had 1,000-yard rushing season. So that's what I'm thinking. Now Daniel, I'm thinking like you were saying, Chris, maybe a Ryan Tannehill or Derek Carr type of deal. But there's going to be mechanisms in there, that tiered guaranteed structure. I'm positive that's going to show up in one of these big deals. So I've got to play around with it. Another tactic that they use up in Buffalo is large workout bonuses, which help lessen the hit, because they're attainable. So there's little things that can be done to inflate the numbers, but not hurt you down the line where you're backloading stuff all of a sudden, So that's going to be an interesting exercise, something I'm going to do. Eventually I'm going to do that, but got to get through the rest of the season before we start looking at that and I start playing with that. And by the way, a few years ago, talking about contracts, I actually projected Odell's Giants contract extension. Came pretty close. I think I came within $5 million or something of the numbers. So I was pretty proud of that.
I'm going 4 years, 60. That's what I've said all along for Barkley.
But it's got to be structured. It's got to be structured. But
there's got to be structure.
Yeah. So if you're talking
I'm going to predict 4 years, 60 with the ability to take almost no dead cap hit in the fourth year.
Yeah. All right.
That's my prediction. We'll see.
But I'm gonna sit down and I've already started playing with the numbers and researching it. But folks, those of you who want to dabble with it, look at how Buffalo has structured some of their big deals. Look at how the Eagles have structured. That's where you're going to find your answers. And then you can play around with over the caps contracts constructor, which is what I use. And you can have a grand old time playing with that thing. There are days when that's all I do. I sit there and I'm playing with that thing, just crunching numbers and whatnot. So, all right, Christy wants to know, do we keep Feliciano at center with Gates back for the rest of the season? Feliciano's been banged up. I know that, but I think he's going to stick out the season as long as he can, because Gates is still building up. I'm curious to see, like I said, if Gates moves to guard for that left guard spot. Now Lemieux, obviously the clock is opened on him, or started on him. I don't know if he's going to necessarily regain that starting job. I'm going to be very curious to see how that works out, because now suddenly the Giants have an influx, or at least it looks like they're going to have an influx of offensive linemen coming back.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Folks, got to take one more commercial break, and then we will close out the show with the rest of your questions and, of course, other stuff we've got to talk about here on the LockedOn Giants podcast. So don't go anywhere. This episode of the LockedOn Giants podcast is brought to you by SimpliSafe. Home burglaries and intruder breaches are unfortunately on the rise. Don't let the bad guys win. Build up your best defense with a customized system from SimpliSafe. Used and trusted by thousands of people, SimpliSafe is cutting-edge technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and will even dispatch the appropriate first responders to your residence, even if you're not home. So don't risk your family's safety. Put SimpliSafe's 24/7 professional monitoring and advanced response technology to work for you today. Visit simplisafe.com/LockedOnNFL to customize your system at a special listener discount of 20%. Plus, get your first month of interactive monitoring for free. That's simplisafe.com/LockedOnNFL for your customized 20% discounted security system and free month of interactive monitoring. Hey, Giant fans, thank you so much for making the Locked On Giants podcast your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond that scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging in with us here on Locked On Giants Live. Traina, Tainah, and Dog.
All right.
Not too bad, right?
6.5.
Oh, she's going down.
Getting
Going down.
You're a tough judge, man.
I gotta call it how I see it or hear it. I should say.
I got to do better next week. I'm going to do better next week.
You started off great. You had a solid 8.5 to start the show, so you're getting better.
I got to do better, man. I can't be going backwards. This is bad. But all right, just a quick reminder before we go into the rest, some of your other questions. If you don't get a question answered, send them over to me on Twitter, and I'm going to just run my Twitter account. Yes, I'm still verified, by the way, even though I'm subscribed to Twitter Blue.
What's with this check thing now?
You know, I've had Twitter Blue since it came out because I like the edit button feature. And my subscription is going to end. I think my billing cycle is coming up for an end, but I've been verified for a number of years. So I took a screenshot to show that I was verified before Elon Musk came along, to say
everybody's got a check now.
I know, and it's
everyone of my subscribers got a check. I don't know what the hell's
going on. I don't have a check.
No, I'm not paying for a check.
Well, I'm trying to
get one on YouTube, though. I earned that one.
I'm trying to get a check over on Instagram because I'm trying to up my. Actually, speaking of Instagram, folks, I'm going to have a special giveaway on Monday. I think it's going to be an Instagram giveaway. I have a really, really, really cool prize that I'm going to give away to some lucky Giant fan that really wants it. So you will want to check out my Instagram account. My Instagram account is at Patty Traina, PATTITRAINA. If you're not following me over there, please do so that you get the notice when I post this giveaway. I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with number 26. So,
All right. Let me follow Patty Traina over here.
I could use something with Saquon.
There you go.
Yeah,
all right, I
think you guys. I think whoever wins this prize is going to like it. It's a one of a, well, not really a one of a kind thing, but it's something that's I think people will really, really like.
That's my favorite Giant. So
there you go.
I'm in.
All right. There you go. So follow me on Instagram if you're not already doing so, because I'm going to post the details and how to enter. It's going to be real simple on Monday. So all right, let's get back to Papa Guzzo's like say, give it to me. And yes, Brandon, it's spelled Patti. So it's PATTITRAINA. Yep. So Duran Osmond's asking, eligible if unchecked to do a giveaway. I think I am. I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't be. So, but yeah, I'm doing this giveaway regardless. I have the item; it's all ready to ship out to some lucky fan. So yeah, I have that. And I also have a second item, but the second item might not be as thrilling. That one I might save for a Twitter giveaway down the line, but this one for sure. All right, let's see. Let's get some of your questions answered. Let's see. I'm looking here. Did I miss? Okay. Papa Guzzo, can Love handle McKinney's defensive duties and also I think you meant Flott, be a shutdown slot cornerback? Regarding McKinney's defensive duties, I always say this. Coaches like to say, next man up, okay, great. But these players are humans. They're not robots. So what McKinney does well doesn't necessarily mean that Love can do it as well. Maybe Love does stuff better than McKinney. So as far as like calling the plays and stuff and getting guys lined up, I think Love will handle that beautifully. I'm not worried about that. As far as, the specifics as to what they've asked McKinney to do versus, what they now have to ask, I think they're going to have to, they're going to have to spread it out a little bit. And again, Wink Martindale spoke about, he's going to distribute it out based on the opponent, matchups, and all that stuff. Now, as far as Cordell Flott being a shutdown slot cornerback, his size, I like the durability right now is a concern for me. I think moving forward, this would not surprise me. I wonder if moving forward, they look to move Aaron Robinson back to the slot, which is where they initially, I think, wanted to play him, but they moved him outside when they, had to part ways with James Bradbury, and then just get another cornerback to play on the outside.
I could see that. Obviously next year, because I think Robinson's out for the year this year. But next year, I could definitely see that them moving Robinson back into the. So I don't think Darnay Holmes is it. I know he looked really good in training camp, but to me, he hasn't impressed me since really he's been a Giant. I've been rooting for him, but I think Robinson will get that role next year if he's healthy. I just want to answer a little Robbie before I forget, because I'm going to the game. He asked me, "Are you going to the Houston game? What are your tailgate plans?" Yeah, so Justin from Talking Giants with Bobby and Justin, he has season tickets, so he tailgates at every game. So I'm getting he gets there at like 6:30 a.m. because he's crazy. And they open.
I'm not even up at that hour.
Yeah, they open the gates at 8. So I told my brother I'm going with him. Pick me up. We're gonna go at about 7:15, and we're gonna try to get there at about 8:15, hopefully. And lot L16, I'm gonna be at the tailgate hopefully for about 3-4 hours before the game. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun.
So you'll be across the way from where I usually park.
Where do you normally park?
I'm usually in G.
You go to G?
Yeah.
Are you going to the game?
The which?
Well,
game
obviously you're going to the game. What am I saying? Yeah. You got to swing by L16. Say hello.
Well, might as well take the trip out there. Why not?
Yeah, come
I
say
get there
hello.
early enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually pull in around 9:30 for the game. So yeah, if I don't have any pregame stuff that I have to do, why not? I might stop by. All right. Brandon Swan asked if we talked about the Texans game. We did in the beginning of the show. We were talking about Dameon Pierce and that run game. So we did touch upon it. We kind of got away from it because we started talking about other stuff. There's just always so much to talk about with the Giants. So, but yes, Dameon Pierce, that's the guy you got to somehow stuff and slow that guy down. And against this run defense, I'm curious to see if the Giants load up the box and dare Davis Mills to beat him with the arm. Brandon Cooks, I think, is going to play. We'll see though.
I didn't take you got the updated injury report today on the Texans.
Yeah, I do actually.
And they said Cooks is questionable.
Cooks is questionable. Linebacker Neville Hewitt is out. Malik Collins, defensive lineman, is questionable. Nico Collins, wide receiver, is questionable. And linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maben is questionable.
I hope they keep Cooks out again.
I don't know.
So do I.
Nico Collins, I think on the crossover show Thursday that I did with John Hickman, I think he said Nico Collins is going to return, but he wasn't sure if Brandon Cooks would play. He thinks that's how it's trending, but he wasn't 100% certain on that. So, so we'll have to see what's going to happen there. All right. Gabe wants to know, why is Jalen Smith still, I think he means starting there, not smarting as an ouch, Interesting thing that the Giants did with their linebackers not last week, but a couple weeks ago, they kind of flipped the roles between Tate Crowder and Jalen Smith, I thought.
And Micah McFadden got a lot more playing time.
Right.
Too.
Michael McFadden got more playing time. So, you got to remember this year, without coming out and saying it, it's an evaluation year. Shane and Dable want to know what they have in every single player. They want to try them in different roles. So it's kind of like right now they're playing with house money, so to speak. Nobody was really expecting them to do anything. They just so happen to be doing something. And, so they're trying to balance it, but get a good idea of what you have as opposed to, burying guys on the bench and never finding out if the guy could be worth, spit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got to figure out because these aren't their guys outside of the draft class and a couple of guys they brought in from free agency, but they have to see which guys fit their scheme from the previous regime and can they do other things that they're asked to do? Are they versatile? Can they play inside linebacker, outside, whatever it is? If we ask you to do this, can you do this? How well can you do this? If we ask you to do this in a pinch, can you do that? So, yeah, they're going to evaluate a bunch of guys because at the end of the day, these aren't their guys. They don't have any allegiance to them, but they want to keep players that can acclimate to their system, that can do what they're asked to do because they're not going to keep everybody. So they're definitely going to let some people walk. And like you said, they want to find out what they have and they want to find the best pieces that fit on this team going forward. So I do. And Joe Shane pretty much has said it's evaluation for everybody. He came right out. Dable came right out at the beginning of the year and said the guys that play the best are getting on the field. And
and that's how it should be.
It wasn't Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
It's not just because, you're making $72 million, you automatically got your job. Oh, you were a first-round pick, you automatically got your job. No, he said you're going to earn it. And I've said this before. If Colin Johnson doesn't tear his Achilles, he's starting. He would have been a starter. Sure. He was having a great camp, and he was one of the guys I felt like he was talking about when he said the guys that work hard are going to get on the field. He was working hard. David Sills was working hard. That's why they got the start. So yeah, I think you're going to see these guys in a bunch of different positions outside of the guys that are coming back. Your Dexter Lawrence's, your Evan Neal's, your Andrew Thomas's, those type of guys.
And that's fine. I'd rather they find out what they have because now they can drill down as to what they need as opposed to just bringing in guys just for the sake of it. So, Brandon,
no more tryouts. You want to know what you have, and you're like, okay,
exactly.
This can do this. We can go this way. We can go that way.
Right.
We can go in this direction now.
Right. Brendan Thomas asks, how could Akins not do anything for us but be serviceable for the Texans? I think Akins had an injury. Wasn't he given an injury settlement? So
I think he got hurt in training camp. Yeah.
And plus, Bellinger kind of stepped up a little bit, so maybe they figured, okay, just move on from him. And they did the injury settlement and he signed with Houston after that settlement was over. So,
and the guy what was it? What's his name again? The guy we got from Washington. That was a surprise.
Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah, I think he got hurt too in training camp because that was a surprise too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We lost everybody in training camp. So why Bellinger ended up with the starting job. And
you almost lost me in training camp with COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was rough with injuries and everything like that. But all right, Christy wants to know, what can you tell me about Isaiah Hodgins? We just picked up Kafka Loves the Sky. Okay, former Buffalo Bill. I know he's a special teamer. I think he has punt return experience.
Big guy, I know that.
6'4".
Big guy, right? Size, speed, smart route runner. Just I guess buried on the Bills team. So a guy that Shane and Dable are obviously familiar with. So I'm curious to see. Look, as you go on in the rest of the season, you're going to be playing some physical games. I mean, not that these first few games weren't physical, but you're going to be playing a lot more physical, especially in the division. In the division. So you want the big physical guys who can withstand the getting beat up, if you will, by the opponent. So, Hodgins, he's a guy I'm curious to see how they use, if they're going to use him as a punt returner, because I don't think Richie James is getting that job back. I really don't.
No, you better not.
I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be surprised, even though Dable today said, just because Adoree Jackson is a starting cornerback and takes a big load of work, of snaps, that doesn't mean that he won't get that job. I don't think they'll go in that direction. I'd be surprised. I really would.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to chance our best cornerback returning kicks. Just find a guy, or if he is, you tell him, listen, go out there, do one of these.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just secure the ball and don't worry about anything else. Absolutely. Right. I'm with you on that. Jake Patterson wants to know, do you think Neal has played the best of all tackles from this draft? Every tackle taken in the top 15 have had their ups and downs. Still think Neal was the right choice. I haven't been unhappy with him.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's not like I get to watch Charles Cross on a daily basis.
I mean, I haven't been unhappy with Evan Neal, but I do think he still has a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, the injuries.
The injuries are that.
But since the Dallas game, I definitely think you've seen him get much better. Yeah. And I think that Evan Neal, I still think he'll be the best tackle out of that draft class. That's just what I think. Especially with the guys he has teaching them.
I'm confident he's going to be a very good tackle in the NFL, and really that's all I care about. Whether he's the best tackle in the draft class, who knows? He's going to be a very good tackle for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
He's given up 5 sacks, but 3 came against the Cowboys in the first half of that game. He bounced back very well from that. He's clearly got a ton of ability. His athletic upside for a man of his size is super impressive. I remember watching his combine and watching some of the highlight clips of his broad jump. At the Alabama practice facility, and for a guy at his size, the upside is through the roof, and he's going to be very good. Seems to be a guy that's a hard worker as well, from everything that you hear. He's one of the last guys I'm worried about. Evan Neal's going to be really good for the Giants.
I agree with you. All right, Marjorie Simmons, what are the chances of Sandro Platzkummer playing this season? 0. He's got a roster exemption. Excuse me. So you're not going to see him this season, Marjorie. It's just. They took advantage of that extra year for a roster exemption. Maybe you see him next year, but it's not going to be this year. Okay, Giants Mafia. Do you know how much longer Azeez is out for? Our D-line is crying out for him right now.
Minimum of 3 more weeks.
When was he put on IR?
I think last week was the first week of the 4-week minimum.
Yeah, he's got to be out for 4 games.
I think he's got a minimum of 3 more.
Yeah.
So it could be more than that, but that's best case scenario.
Right. I didn't get a chance to talk. I wanted to talk to him too. And by the time I got done with what I was doing in the locker room, he had left his area. But let me see. He was added. Ojulari was put on IR October 22nd. So that would have been how many weeks ago?
It's been 1 game because we've had a bye.
Yeah, but is it games or bye? I think it's or games or weeks. Isn't it?
Oh, it's weeks. I
think it's weeks, Chris.
Oh, maybe you're right. So maybe it's only.
So it might be 2. Might be another 2.
Washington.
Maybe
Dallas was a short week, so I don't know how.
Anybody who's coming off of an injury, a serious injury, or a list, I'd be surprised to see them on a short week against Dallas.
Either way, that's when he's eligible. That doesn't mean he's going to come back then.
Right. So we got to
probably look at December.
Yeah, you don't know.
That's what I'm thinking. You want to get, as healthy as you can by December, actually. Yeah. So we'll see if that falls into place for the Giants. If they can get some of these guys back and up and running, I mean, go for it. I go into the playoffs with a all hands on deck. I think that's what you want, if I'm being honest with you. So, all right, let's see. I got that. All right, Mike Gorga, can we just take a moment at the bye and consider what lay before us in the second half last year and appreciate where we are now? Yes, absolutely. Everybody, I think, can agree that this team is way ahead of where they need, or where we thought they would be. I had them at 8-9. If I had to revise my prediction, and I haven't done this on Giants Country, but I'll do it here. I think they'll win at least 10 games, possibly 11.
That's where I'm at. 10 right now with a chance at 11. I'm at, that's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah. All right. Amazing guy. Is Aaron Robinson coming back? Probably not. Head coach Dable said it was doubtful that he would be back this year. So
I heard it's like definitive he's out for the year. Maybe I misread it, but I think he's out.
He's out, but I think Dable said it's doubtful that he would be back.
So he left open a slight possibility.
Yeah, well, I mean, they always leave open a slight possibility.
Yeah.
From what I understand, that injury is season ending, and true season ending. So, All right. Brendan Thomas, you see Ellerson Smith carving out a role for himself in this defense. It's interesting. He was starting to do that. They did have a specific role in mind for him back in the spring and the summer, and then that injury happened. So this kid's got to stay on the field because this is now 2 years he's missed chunks of time because of injuries. If he could do that, then sure, why not? I always say you want to have at least 3 good pass rushers. This team, when they get
I'd like 5.
I'd like, well, yeah. I mean, I'd like 4.
What
Get the 4
Buffalo
aces,
Bills
right?
With how they're able to, the Bills. I mean, they are always swapping out pass rushers, and the more the merrier. You can never have enough pass rushers,
right?
Well, I mean, that's what Ernie Accorsi used to say. Remember when he drafted? I think it was Kiwi, and everybody's like, "What the heck are you doing drafting another pass rusher?" And he's
even when we took JPP, people said that. I remember.
Yeah, and look, you look at the Super Bowl teams that these Giant Super Bowl teams, and what do they have? They all had at least 3 solid pass rushers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you want that 4 aces package, which was brilliant. They actually had 4 cards. I remember, seeing this years ago when they were in the old stadium. I won't tell you how I saw it or how I knew about it, but they actually had playing cards, and they actually would label different guys by the playing cards. So JPP was, and I don't remember the exact labeling, but like JPP would be, or not JPP, he wasn't on the team at the time. Strahan might be the ace of spades, for example. So I thought that was kind of cool how they used actual decks of playing cards, and they had different like packages based on, I guess the poker hands, I guess.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Just a little, behind the scenes thing there. That was pretty cool. All right, let's see. Amazing Guy wants to know, do the Giants add another edge rusher in the off season? I don't think so. I mean, I mean, maybe, do they, I would say, look, you got Thibodeau, you're going to have Ojulari back. You're going to have Smith under contract. Maybe you bring back Jihad Ward. I know Wink Martindale loves Jihad Ward.
I hope we bring him back.
Yeah. Do you bring back?
But I also hope he doesn't do wheelies with ATVs anymore either.
Do you bring back Zimenez, or do you swap him out for somebody?
You could. I mean, he's played well. It all depends on what he's willing to come back for. But sure, I mean, it's so hard to speculate right now what they're gonna. Could they draft an edge rusher in the 4th or 5th round? Sure. I mean, we have so many picks. I mean,
we have so many needs as well. Though I think you got to address other spots before that becomes a concern.
Yeah,
I think that's what you drafted Thibodeau for, and you hope that he becomes a major. Yeah, obviously can't have enough, but we do have a couple. We don't have.
Let's put it this way: I don't think they're going to spend early draft capital on that position. No.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. All right, I want to answer this one from Yuvraj Singh. Do the Giants have summer internships for high schoolers? I don't think so. I know they do for college students. I know Fordham students, Boston College. I forget what other schools. Pace University might be another one, but I don't recall them being for they're having internships for high school students.
I have a question. Do they have summer internships for YouTubers?
They might. They might. I don't know, man.
No, I'm kidding.
I know. Yeah, I don't think the high schoolers.
When Carl Banks and Bob Papa retired, do they have room in the radio booth for a couple of YouTubers?
That'd be cool.
Oh, I could just see the two. Are you two going to do the glasses?
Oh, if we were in the booth, we would probably get evacuated from the stadium. We'd be going crazy.
You are still going to you still do the glasses at halftime, right?
I'm bringing them to the game, but where's here they are.
Where the heck are mine? I had mine.
Yeah, mine are in my car.
Oh, here's mine.
I went to Massachusetts today. It was actually nice out. And
I have to replace my seeing glasses, but here are mine. So, oh my goodness. But yeah, that would be something. Although on YouTube, I know you two call the game, so that's hilarious. Okay, let's see. All right, Brendan, I know they called it the NASCAR package. I think that was later on. I'm talking back in the 2007 season. They called it the 4 aces. They use cards. I just remember they used a deck of cards to kind of line up, things.
Yeah, the NASCAR package is when they used 5 down linemen.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That was pretty awesome. That was good too.
I love the NASCAR package.
Yeah. Dustin Mosley, and I put this up here because I did an interview with Timon Fox. So I'm hoping I can get it done tomorrow for Sunday. If not, I'll have it done shortly thereafter. But I did speak to the young man.
I'm a fan of him.
I'm a big fan of him, and
he's
got a pretty good story. So I did talk to him this week in the locker room. Did an interview with him. Also talked to a couple guys I spoke with, Adoree Jackson and Darnay Holmes, because I wanted to find out more about the challenges of punt return, because I didn't know. And I guess I should have known this, but when McGahee said that cotton can create the fumbles, and you want the skin with the ball, I was like, oh, gosh, I learned something, So I was asking, Adoree Jackson and Darnay Holmes about fielding different punts and how it's different in college versus the pros. And they both basically said they don't really teach it in college. It's just, special teams. It's like, just go out there and catch it. He said here in the pros, they actually, there's a science to it, which, I didn't know. And they were explaining, how the flight of the ball versus a left footer, a right footer, an Aussie style punter.
Interesting.
The rotation of the ball has got to be different.
It definitely is. And it's a little trickier.
The football is different.
Well, much different.
Yeah. Also, they were saying that the white lines on the college balls, it makes it easier to spot it. Mm-hmm. Where sometimes, you lose the brown ball in the lights, especially if you're playing late at, and you've got the lights on. So just some interesting stuff there.
I'm sure the balls they hang a lot longer in the NFL as well. The guys are better, obviously. So the ball's up in the air much longer. It's higher. So it's probably tougher to gauge. I wouldn't want to do it.
No. That might be the most dangerous job on a football.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to do it either. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets says, why didn't they tell him that about the cotton sleeves before the game? I think McGahee said that he overlooked it. So he took the blame for that one. Probably just, didn't even notice it until it was too late. So he owned up to it.
The thing is, though, like, it's not like Richie James is a rookie. This guy's been in the league for like 5 years.
Well, it's interesting because when I was talking to Darnay Holmes about it and sleeves, he goes, he had some tattoo work done, and he says, yeah, I don't want to mess that up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So he's like, well, the sleeves, I guess, protect that. And I'm because he even said, he says, oh, you get scratched, it screws up your tattoos. I'm sitting there going, dude, what's the big deal? Or just put tape over it or something. And I don't know if players put stickum on their bodies or what they do. I know stickum's probably illegal, but you could at least hold the thing up against you high and tight. I mean, there's got to be a way to just.
That's a coffin taught Tiki.
Yeah,
high and tight up here.
Although Tiki will tell you, Tiki will tell you that what was his name? Jerome, I forget. Now I forget the guy's name. The running backs coach that he had at the time. I don't think Tiki would have given Coughlin that credit.
He didn't like Coughlin.
No, they didn't get along, the two of them. It was Tiki liked the running backs coach, whose name escapes me now, and I could.
Now you're gonna get me to look it up. Hold on.
But I don't care. I don't care if you're wearing cotton. I don't care if you're wearing polyester. I don't care if you're wearing leather. You hold the ball out here away from your body or down
exactly
to punch out.
Yes.
You have a tendency to lose it as opposed to holding it up here. It's closer to your body and you're much stronger up here. It's going to be tougher to rip the thing out. So you look at the second fumble, the ball got away from it. The ball went away from his body and it just got punched out. It's easy to punch it out when you're just holding it with your forearm.
Right.
Gerald Ingram.
That's who it is. Yep. And I should have known that because super nice man. Durant Osmond, no, they didn't lose the game because of tattoos. I was just saying that one of the players was joking around and said he had tattoo work, and he's like, "Oh, I wish I could wear sleeves," but he's not going to wear sleeves if he gets the punt return job. So no, that's not that's not why they lost the game. They lost the game because the turnovers, and they just weren't good enough to overcome some of the mistakes they made. And Seattle, let's give credit to Seattle. Seattle was better.
They played well.
They played really
played a great
well.
game, Seattle.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's see if we have anything else. Amazing Guy says keeping James as the returner is a fireable offense. I don't think they will. I really would.
But I don't think it's a fireable offense either.
Right. It's not a fireable offense, but I don't. Here's the other thing. They've got 7 receivers now, I think, on the roster.
So Hodges is not. He's officially in the 53.
Yeah, because he was claimed off waivers, so he was signed
Okay.
to the 53.
So you all right, let's go over. You have Galladay, you have Slayton, you have Wandell, you have Hodgins, you have Sills.
Yep.
James out of concussion protocol, right?
Yes, James is out of the protocol.
So
So
that's
that's
Marcus
Sills.
Johnson.
Here, I got
Marcus
it in front of me.
Johnson. Yeah.
You got Sills, Robinson, Hodgkins, Galladay. Let me see.
Johnson.
James, Sills, Johnson.
James. Yeah. So that's what, 7?
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, you ain't going to carry 7 on Sunday. No way all 7 of those guys play. So I'm wondering if maybe Richie James is inactive, if he's one of the inactives.
Could be Johnson too.
You're right.
Yeah, because with
Could
Kenny
be
Galladay
Sills.
coming back,
I mean, Sills hasn't really done anything the last few weeks.
he's had his snaps have been reduced.
Right. So I'm
which is
wondering
kind
if
of
he's just
interesting.
kind of getting weeded out there a little bit.
Yeah, but at some point you would think you'd probably trim down one of those receivers to make room for some of these guys that are going to, like for example, you got guys, Rodarius Williams. I think his 21-day window was coming to a close soon. Who else was activated off who had their windows open? Parrott, I know, had his open. Lemieux, pretty soon you're going to have to make decisions, and you're going to have to trim some of the fat off at some of these positions where you're bloated right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would think. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, we're not carrying 7 receivers.
No,
you don't need 7.
With how often we need to use 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. Like, we need to carry a decent amount of tight ends because we don't trust our offensive line. That's why we run as many 2 tight end sets as we do. So
yep.
I honestly think I'd be surprised if we carry more than 5, but we're definitely not carrying 7.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, we'll take a couple more and then we'll call it a night. Let's see, Brendan Thomas. How much do you think being ahead of schedule possibly hurts us in rebuilding with a lower draft pick position if we stay on this winning trajectory? I don't think it does, Brandon.
0.
Yeah, I mean, look,
0.
I trust Joe Schoen and his staff to do their homework. I mean, Shane's been hitting the road basically every weekend to see the top 100 prospects, as many as the top 100 prospects in person. I know Brandon Brown has been out hitting the road as well. So whether they're drafting first or 32nd, I don't think it matters. I think it's, who's the right player for what they need. You can't go in and say, we've got to draft a cornerback in the first round. We got to draft you can't do that. You got to take the best guy on your board. And I have confidence that their board, when they put that board together, it's going to be, they will have done their homework and the picks will be, it won't matter where they're drafting.
We drafted, going back to 2018, we've drafted 2nd, 6th, 17th in that same draft.
30th too.
Yeah, 31st or whatever it was. And then the next draft we drafted, what was it? It was the first 4th with Andrew Thomas, then 11th, and then this year we were 5th and 7th, and we've been horrible every year. So
yep.
No, the best team, the Patriots consistently picked like 30th.
So does Baltimore.
The Steelers. No, 0. It's not the NBA. It's the NFL. It's a team game. Just start building a winning culture. That's more important than where we're picking in the draft.
Absolutely. We talk about you need a high draft pick. Why? You want a high draft pick so you start winning games, right? Well,
and most teams look to trade anyway.
Like we're winning games. That's what you want the draft picks for, so you can start building a franchise and building a winning culture.
Yeah,
winning trumps all. Winning does a lot for confidence. It does a lot for the morale of the locker room. And again, like I said at the beginning of the show, Kenny Galladay, man, I'm telling you, probably went into the year going, a new coach, don't want to do this. This team stinks. We're not going to be any good. This team was bad last year. I don't really care. I got my money. And then he sat on the bench for 6 or 7 weeks, and he's like, wow, this team's good. Like, I want to get out there. We're winning. I want to get out there. I want to help win. I've never played for a team that won 10 games. I want to help this team win. So, again, he's a professional. You should act like that, whether you win 1 or you win 16. but you are human. And when you go out there knowing you really have no chance to win, sometimes you're sitting there going, what is the incentive for me to maybe get a career-ending injury on a team that's 2-10 and going nowhere, as opposed to, hey, this team has a chance to make the playoffs, and maybe we don't have the talent to win a Super Bowl, but you want to at least get into the playoffs because you never know. You never know. May not hit the Powerball, but if you don't buy a ticket, you certainly can hit it. So
through 8 weeks. Let's be real, and I'm by no means am I saying this is going to happen. It's not going to happen. Okay, I'm not predicting it, but through eight games last year, do you think anybody thought any higher of the Bengals than they do the Giants right now? Like, nobody saw the Bengals doing what they did. You know, most people probably didn't feel like they were going to make the
Kansas City.
Yeah,
in Kansas City.
So just get in, and even if we don't advance and we don't win a game, it's still valuable to gain that experience. It's not like we're backdooring our way in with 6 wins. No, this is a legitimate playoff team if we get them. We win 9-10 games, you make the playoffs, you see what you could do. But you go back to Eli's he got blown out his first playoff game against Carolina, but it was valuable.
Terrible. He had 3 interceptions. He got blown out 23-0.
Yep.
But you learn from it.
It was valuable.
70 was great.
Yeah, 2 years later, he won a Super Bowl. So just get in and get that experience.
Exactly. All right. We'll take a couple more. M626M, were you surprised at Geno Smith holding a grudge? Not really, because I know Geno, he liked Ben McAdoo. Ben McAdoo gave him a chance, obviously believed in him. And then when Ben got fired, sometimes, you know, when your boss gets fired or a guy that your coach that you like gets fired, it's like, you have a sour taste in your mouth. And, you know, Geno just needed a fresh start. And look, I always got along well with him, but I kind of also got the impression that New York wasn't going to work out for him. And you can go back to his time with the Jets and he needed a fresh start. So good for Geno. I wish him well, except if he runs up against the Giants again in the wild card round, which is a possibility. I saw according to the last playoff projection chart. But it is what it is. Sometimes guys, when there's a coaching change, guys bring in their own guys and they push aside guys that the previous staff likes. So I wasn't surprised by that. So, all right, this one's for you, dog. Mike Gorga wants to know if you're going solo Sunday or bringing on a color commentator.
It'll be solo.
Where are you going to be, Chris?
I'm gonna be at the game.
Oh, that's right. You're going to be at the
game. You're not gonna have Little Bad Dog do the play-by-play.
No, Little Bad Dog. Little Bad Dog has pictures to get taken on Sunday. So.
Okay,
it'll be me going solo, celebrating our 7th win of the season. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay.
Looking at a game further down the road. I'm hoping. I'm hoping again. I can't ever guarantee anything. But
if you're gonna pick a game,
I'm eyeing December 11th.
If you're gonna pick a game, I might go to the Washington game as well because that's the game Bobby's doing his big tailgate. So if you're gonna pick a game, pick that one.
Maybe I was thinking Philadelphia.
Philadelphia's cool too.
But not at Philly. You don't want to.
Hell no. No, I wouldn't get out of there alive.
We'll go to jail if we go to Philly.
No, I'd be going to the morgue, Rob.
Yeah, you're right. We'll go to the morgue on the way to jail.
Oh my gosh! Even I get scared going to Philly. It's
Bad Dog's probably not.
It's not too bad. It's not bad, if you stay in the center part of the city. But when you go down to the stadium,
don't downplay it. They're disgusting.
I don't know about that.
It's a disgusting city, disgusting people.
You said it, Chris.
Disgusting uniforms.
I didn't.
I can tell you that. Uniforms are horrible.
I look, when I've been to Philly many times. When I've had to stay over, I always stay in the center part of the city, not far from the train station, because I take the train in and out. I don't drive anymore because the one time I did drive in, I came out and there was crap all over my car. And I was like, really? And I knew it was going to happen because I could just see the Eagle fans. They're like, oh, you got Jersey plates. And I remember saying to them, because they were heckling me about it, I said, well, what's the matter? South Jersey people can't be Eagle fans. How do you know if I'm what I am? And I didn't have any like colors on or anything like that because I was going to work. And they said, well, where's your Eagles garb? I said, well, I'm going to work. I'm not allowed to wear it. So they're like, well, if you're going to work in the stadium, why don't you have your Eagle garb? Because I'm going to work. In the press box, you're not supposed to wear team color stuff. You're supposed to dress like you're going to work. Right. So I just knew because this one guy was really, he was wasted at that point. And I said,
Of
"Oh
course he
God,
was.
please
What was
don't
it,
slash my
7:30 in the
tires."
morning?
So
7:30 in the morning?
I came out and they threw beer and God knows what the heck it was. And I remember driving the car home and I was praying that I would get home okay because I didn't know if they had done anything to my tires. Thank God I did get home, come home. And my husband's like, "What the heck happened to the car?" I said, "The Eagle fans trashed it."
Yeah.
So we
There's
had to
definitely
get
certain parts of New York that'll happen to you too.
right.
Though.
But
Like I say all the time, Philly fans and New York fans, we are very similar, which is why we don't get along. We love the hell out of our teams. We will defend our team, but God, if they do not perform, we will get all over. So one thing I'll say about Philly fans, we may not agree with them. I hate the Eagles with a passion, but they're very passionate. They love their freaking team. They love them.
I'm just messing. I don't think they're all disgusting. Just like 80%. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
right.
Whereas
No,
Cowboy fans, I feel like Cowboy fans are blasé.
Well,
they're good. They don't
you know
really
what?
care.
I've actually had worse experience with Cowboys fans because I remember before I became a member of the press, I would go, on an annual road trip down to Dallas, and they threw beer at us. And, they were just
Really?
mean.
Cowboy fans, really?
They were throwing beer at us. They were saying lewd things. And again, when I went to games before I became a member of the media, I never wore really jerseys or anything to indicate what team I was rooting for. But you could tell. I mean, I would jump up and I would cheer if the Giants. Right. So they quickly identified it. And one guy threw. I'll never forget this because it was actually the last time the Giants played Dallas on Thanksgiving. I think it was. I remember a beer came whizzing right by my ear and it hit the guy in front of me. And I was like, what? So I'm turning around and I'm like, and this guy's giving me the finger. And I'm like, what's your problem, dude? I'm like, come on. He was
wait,
drunk.
The guy give you the finger because you're cheering for your team?
I guess. I don't know. He was drunk out of his mind. I'm pretty sure he was drunk because he got escorted out for throwing.
He got escorted out because he lost his VCR player, so he can't watch their Super Bowls.
I guess, but I can laugh about it now. But I remember I was with my brother at the game, and we were just like, "What just happened?" It was so weird. It was like it was scary because I was like, I remember pulling up a mirror to like look to see if something was coming from behind me, So I was like,
"That sounds like a horrible experience."
It was, and I was kind of surprised because when I became a member of the media, granted, I sit in the press box now. But I always found the people down there to be friendly,
Yeah.
It's like I chalk it up to an isolated incident. And by the way, I think every group, every fan base has its bad apples, including Giant fans.
Giant fan, Yankee fan.
Everybody has
every
so
fan
you
base
can,
has.
I tend to think there's more good than there is bad.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the bad ones are the ones that you notice because they do stupid stuff.
Right.
Bro brings up a good point. He says, I stopped going to games because of drunks and cell phones.
Yeah.
Cell phones are the worst thing that ever happened to live sporting events, live movie event. Like when you go to the movies, when you go to it is everybody at a football game throughout the game is on their phone checking their fantasy team. It's like, get off the phone. You just paid $150 to sit here and watch the game live, and you're worried about how your wide receiver on the New York Jets is doing.
Oh, gosh.
It's the worst. I agree
know. When I used to play fantasy football, I would be like, I wouldn't check my fantasy team until literally the next day because, I've got so swept up.
I'll do it if I'm sitting home on the couch, but if you're at the game, put your phone away.
Exactly. If you're at the game, you got other things. But all right, let's see. Amalek's wants to know how many sacks do you think Thibodeau finishes with? I don't know. What do you think, guys?
4.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a better second, and I'll go with 5. I think he's gonna have a good second half. What
does he have now for sacks?
He's
got 1.
He's got 1. I'm going to say 5. I'm going to say 5. I think as he gets healthier again. I chalk up his slow start to that knee injury. So I think he's going to get a little bit. He's going to come back and
he's definitely very disruptive.
Yes, absolutely.
10 if he stopped getting hold every damn time he drops.
Yeah,
getting held a lot.
So all right, let me see. We'll do one more question if I have one, and then I know you guys got a dash. So let me see. Do we have anything? Oh, I guess let's do predictions. I don't see any other questions off the topic. So let's do predictions. I mean, can we all agree win this weekend?
Yep.
They better.
What scores are you looking at?
I think it's gonna be close. Like I said, I actually think the Texans are gonna cover. Last I checked, the Giants were a 6.5-point favorite. I don't know if that's since changed.
I'll take a look.
I think I could look real quick. I'm curious myself what the spread is.
Well, I'm looking on SI Sportsbook. Actually, I should look on BetOnline.
I got it right here. NFL Giants currently are actually it's 4.5. It went down.
Yeah, 4.5.
It was
from BetOnline.
So that's about where I think it should be. I think the Giants are going to win by like 3 or 4, right in that area. I think it'll be a close game. And I think it'll be relatively low scoring because obviously I don't see Houston putting up a ton of points. I'm going to go something like a 20-16 type game. I think the Giants will win by about 4. I'm going to go like a 20-16 Giants.
The over-under is 41.
So I'm going under.
You're going under?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think I agree with that. And yes, 4.5 is the spread. Giants favored 4.5 by BetOnline, our friends at BetOnline. So, all right, Dog, what do you think? What's your score prediction?
I think it'll be close too. I do think the Giants cover. I think it'll be under, but very close to Chris's score. 23-16 Giants by a TD.
I like it.
I'm going to say 24-17.
Giants.
Yes.
You better say the Giants.
The first two predictions I had were very close. Like I was off by like a point. And of course, last prediction, no.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
not there, unfortunately.
Yes.
This time, I do feel like we're, like I said, we're coming off a bye. We should be rested. The guys are healthier. Houston's coming to our house. Now, they did get a little extended week because they played on Thursday, but Philadelphia softened them up. We should be able to take care of business. We should be able to beat this team at home.
You would think, and if they don't, oof,
if we don't, then
I don't want to see Twitter after the game.
Yeah,
I'm going to delete the Twitter app for a week.
The sky will be falling if we lose this game.
I will literally delete my Twitter app if we lose this game. I will not want to go on Twitter for a whole week.
I have no choice but to do Twitter, but I would be like,
I'll be like, I don't even want to experience this. Wake me up when we play Detroit.
Which is going to be just as tough. But
yeah.
All right, guys. Great show as always. A lot of fun. We covered so much. I want to thank everybody for coming in, asking questions. Hope you enjoyed the program. We will look to do this again next week. And then, gosh, Thanksgiving's coming up before we know it. So we'll see how that schedule works out. But hopefully we'll be able to do this again next week. Thank you all for watching the LockedOn Giants podcast. And be sure to tune in. Don't forget, on Monday, David Turner's back. We will break down the Giants and Texans game. And also on Monday, Instagram at Patty, Patti, Traina, Traina. Look for that giveaway that I'm going to have. It has to do with Saquon Barkley. You will not want to miss it. So for the Dog and the Tainah, how was that, Chris? Good?
8.5.
Oh, I'm back.
You finished where you started.
I finished strong. It's not how you started.
No, you were like Daniel Jones. You finished strong with a big W.
Okay, awesome. All right, folks. So for Dog and Tainah, I'm Patricia Traina. We will see you again next week.
That's how you need to say it going forward because it rhymes. For Dog and Tainah, it's Patricia Traina.
There you go.
Okay.
That's a 9.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
You need the twang with the dog with that and the rhyme, and you got yourself a 10.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
There. I like that.
All right. See, that's why I count on you guys for feedback. All right, everybody. We'll see you again next week. Have a good
night,
weekend, everybody, and enjoy your football.
Oops.